technology kickoff. And it'll be Micah Knorr. Utah State won the toss, and they elected to defer. So they will give the ball to BYU to start things off. And Micah Knorr, the kick is away. And James Dye, who has yet to score a touchdown on special teams, will return it. And Dye gets to the 20-yard line. Is the ball loose? He hung on to it, but Dye to the 20-yard line. But interesting that so far this year he does not have a touchdown on special teams.
You know, with most guys it wouldn't be interesting. It's only interesting because he is so good. It's like, well, James, you played 5 games. Why haven't you scored yet?
James,
you got to remember, guys are kicking away from him. I mean, his reputation. I mean, he is a well-known quantity. He's electrifying. The runs he had last year, everybody's seen him on highlight shows all over the country. People are doing their best to kick away from him.
Steve Sarkisian, there he is. 17 yards, 100 yards passing already. Dustin Johnson and Mark Atuaya will be in the backfield for Sarkisian, and the Cougars just past the 20-yard line are underway. A flag is up. Sarkisian will throw downfield, and it is caught by his tight end Mealy, his #1 target, Atula Mealy, who incidentally is the leader among tight ends, and we wouldn't know this except for the fact that for some reason the University of Texas keeps stats on tight ends receiving. Nobody really knows why. It's not an NCAA thing, but he is the leader among tight ends in the nation.
Talking to the BYU coaches today, there are a lot of NFL scouts interested in Mealy as well. They said they've had more scouts on campus this year than ever before. And as you might remember, Dave, there have been a couple quality football players who passed through that program. But a combination with that.
Number 97, penalties decline, first down.
A tight end with that combination of power, speed, and good hands, something else.
22-yard pickup on the Southwest Airlines starting lineups. K.O.K. Lalui and McGuire, a couple of nice receivers. Chad Lewis and Mealy, great targets for Steve Sarkisian, and then across that big front line, trying to give Sarkisian the protection that he needs to have a successful night throwing. Lalui is the man in motion. The Cougars will put it on the ground, and it's Mark Atuaya, and he is met by David Gill, number 44 for Utah State. And let's set the Southwest Airlines Utah State defense, and they're a little bit of a banged-up bunch. We'll talk more about that as we go. Ben Crosland's been solid at right tackle for the Aggies. David Gill, of course, all-world for this team. He really helps him out. He's a big number on defense. We'll call that a lot. And John Dale Carter, we saw his bell run a couple weeks ago, but he came back and did okay. Johnson and Ituaya again in the backfield for Sarkisian. Be interesting to see how the Cougars' running game gets going tonight. We'll talk more about that as we go. Pass, though, outside to Johnson, and that is complete. And they'll use those running backs in so many different ways.
Well, as the offensive line has progressed, they have not had to keep the backs and tight ends in to block as much, and that has made them all the more dangerous. I mean, Sarkisian's dropping back. He's got 5 receivers, and he decides to go out in the flat where he's wide open, and Aggies are lucky he was losing his footing because there is nobody in the picture, you know, until he's caught the ball turned upfield for a couple steps. He probably would have had the first down.
They spot him 2 yards short of the first down. A 3rd down and 2 coming up. Pitch, first down, and a couple of more for Brian McKenzie. And the Cougars have a first down, and they are moving. As we mentioned, Reese Stein is on the football field. He will be there throughout the evening.
Beautiful night down here on the football field, as you mentioned. No wind. We had a wind about an hour ago. It's really calmed down. It's beautiful down here. All we smell are the fires from the barbecues from the tailgate parking lot. I'll tell you, I'm getting hungry already, and it's a long time till our halftime break, Dave.
Go ahead, sneak out there, Reese. It's allowed. The player that is down, I believe, is John Dale Carty. And John L. Smith can ill afford any injuries at all on his defense. We're going to take a timeout while they attend to Carty, and we'll be right back. No score. We're just underway in Logan. Score here is we're just underway in Logan. BYU against Utah State. Cougars, oddly enough, come in here having not won a road game this year, and Utah State having not lost a home game. Cougars on the march. Steve Sarkisian, fine young quarterback for BYU, leading the way. And 1st and 10, just shy of the 45 right in the middle, and it's Chad Lewis. Lewis finally knocked down by David Gill. A little help from Mike Hudson. But boy, those tight ends, when you got two great tight ends, let alone one, they're just picking defenses apart. 17-yard pickup there.
Hey, take a look at the replay. Sarkisian, not a lot of pressure, directing the receiver. And I watch Lewis when he goes airborne. Norm Chow says, you know, you hate to see big guys do this, but so many guys are trying to hit them in the knees and ankles and make the tackle. We got to, and they're good enough, they can hurdle defenders. Lewis has done it at least twice this year. He hurdled a guy in the Arkansas State game.
Huge hurdle.
And Mealy had a hurdle a couple weeks ago, too. I think against New Mexico.
Lewis was a high jumper back in high school. I remember him in the summer games, just a skinny guy, great high jumper. Sarkisian back to passing first down, and he is sacked. Sarkisian goes down.
John Latu was first in to get him.
And Reese Latu looked like he got in there with no trouble.
Took his wheels right out from under him, I'll tell you. You may have noticed also in the backfield, Dave, with John Del Carty hurt and out, Matt Wells, a converted quarterback, is now in at free safety for Utah State, number 14.
The icon defensive play, and there comes John Latu in a hurry. Matt Wells, by the way, does have one pass this year, and it was complete, so he's got a great rating.
He started as a quarterback, and they switched him over to the defensive side of the ball.
Big loss there, takes the Cougars back to 2nd and 17, but it's something they can pick up in a hurry. Sarkisian's pass is caught, and Kale Lalui cannot hang on to it because he took a big hit from Craig Miller, so you'd have to credit Miller with the defensive play because KO had it in his hands.
That was a pretty big pop, and he's pretty much letting everybody know about it right now. The interesting thing is the Cougars have a lot of big play receivers, but most of them are also very good at going over the middle. See the hit right here. He was juggling it when he got hit. He didn't quite have it tucked away.
Kale Lalui not too happy with Craig Miller's celebration after the tackle. Either gives him a little shove on the way up. The referee got right in the middle of that quickly.
3rd and 17, Dave. We saw this during the Oklahoma State game, and Coach John L. Smith talked about it. He says, we play good football for a long time, and then we let down, we blow an assignment, we make a bad read, and we let one big play ruin all our good work. We've got to be more disciplined.
Sarkisian, ball will be overthrown.
Flag down in the middle of the field.
Chad Lewis got held.
And Lewis is pointing right at David Gill, and we'll see what happens.
It was David Gill who held Lewis up. He had his arm wrapped around him, no question. Lewis was breaking towards the Aggie bench, and he was half step behind him and just locked him up.
David James, you're prophetic. Just when the Aggies had him 3rd and 17, they shoot themselves in the foot.
Yep.
Well, it's been happening way too much. John L. Smith said all week in practice we talked about discipline, doing something right and doing it right every time. He says we do it 7 plays out of 10, and that is not enough.
Yeah, when your senior leader, your senior linebacker, the veteran makes the mistake, boy, that really hurts.
But you know, it was. Well, hold on a second. Here comes.
Holding on the defense, number 44, 10-yard penalty, first down.
But it was,
that's what hurts.
But it was
first down.
But it was KO. And, you know, he had the game-winning touchdown against Texas A&M. They had another TD last week, and he said, you know, what gets our offense going is the tight ends. He says they're a tough matchup. They can run over safeties. They can run away from linebackers. It's really hard for guys to cover them, and that opens stuff up for us. And there, Chad, without even getting the ball, creates the first down.
1st and 10 at the 25-yard line. Cougars on the move. The give to Brian McKenzie around the right side. He has room. Gets through several tackles. Carty couldn't wrap him up. John Del Carty back into the game, and he's all the way down to the 12-yard line. So the running game so far working quite well for the Cougars on this drive anyway.
Norm Chow said McKenzie could have been a great I-back. He could have gone to a school in the Midwest that pounds the ball. He could have carried it 30, 35 times a week, been on ESPN. He said he came here because he wanted to make himself a more complete back. He knew if he came to BYU, yeah, he'd get to carry the ball, but he'd learn to be a receiver out of the backfield. He'd learn to block, and he might prepare himself better for the next level if he gets a shot in the NFL.
Kale Lalui in motion. Handoff inside to Dustin Johnston. And Johnston met by Gill, but not before he picks up what appears to be about 6 yards. So now the Cougars inside the 10, down to the 7, and threatening to score already.
You know, not a flashy run by Johnson, but just putting his head down, heading straight for the goal line, dragging guys along, and then finishing. Falling towards the goal line, picking up that extra yard when they finally drag him down. He's falling forward.
6'2", 235-pounder. 2nd down. They can get a first down at about the 2.5-yard line. 10th play of this drive. And this time, McKenzie bounces off one tackler, but then he he just simply ran out of room. So there might be a gain of about a yard here.
McKenzie, right there, but at least he spins downfield, picks up a couple more yards, as you said, nowhere to go. But, you know, always heading towards the goal line, not getting caught. Not getting caught running towards the sideline. Keep your momentum going forward. Get that extra yard or two. Get back, in this case, not much past the line of scrimmage, maybe a yard or so.
Ran into Matt Cox as lineman, the 290-pounder. Third down. Sarkisian to the air. Gets rid of the pass in a hurry, and he had to because the pressure was coming, and it was coming in a hurry from Spencer Wagner.
Wagner coming off the end, untouched, unblocked. He was right in Sarkisian's face when Sarkisian turned around.
Wagner plays that rover position, and he just put on a stunt, and nobody picked him up. Sarkisian did well to step out of the way, or he'd have got nailed for a loss.
Well, Sarkisian had no idea he was coming because of the play-action fake. He was facing the other way, and he just turned around, and boom, he was right there in his face.
24-yard field goal attempts, and if you're the Aggies, considering what happened on that 3rd and long, you got to be thrilled if you can get out with just giving up a field goal. That is the case. So BYU is on the scoreboard first. That consecutive scoring streak will remain intact. Now they have been shut out, and in fact, they hold the record. We'll talk more about that when we come back. The Cougars lead it by a field goal. BYU gets the scoreboard first. 3-0 is their lead now, and it is now 266 consecutive games without a shutout, dating clear back to 1975. Longest streak in the NCAA for the Cougars. Not that that was going to be in any danger. And a deep, deep kick that will not be returned. And now the question that we ask Coach John L. Smith every week, who will start at quarterback? And he never tells us, and it's always Matt Sock, at least since the 2nd week of the season. And that appears to be the case once again. Matt Sock, the junior college transfer from Mission Viejo. Tough kid. Had a couple of troublesome passes, you might say, at Oklahoma State.
He's got a rocket for an arm, though. Boy, we saw him in the Utah game, and boy, can he throw hard.
And Sock will go to the air right off the bat. And the pass is tipped and intercepted. And just like that, mistakes by the Aggies. Brad Martin has his first interception of the season, and there's an excited young man, Brad Martin, the sophomore linebacker from California, but that ball was tipped by Shea Muirbrook.
It almost looked like it might not get intercepted because there's too many Cougars battling for it, but great example of how the tip drill can work.
Yeah, the Cougar defenders tripping over themselves trying to get to it, but great concentration by Martin.
Wow. Now there's the type of mistake, and you'd mentioned the outset, the Aggies really need to be plus 3 or 4 in the turnover department. Now they're already down 1. So Steve Sarkisian back onto the field. The last drive went over 10 plays, chewed up quite a bit of time, and now the Cougars have it. Ronnie Jenkins in the backfield for Sarkisian, and he will dump the ball to Jenkins, who has room on the right side, cuts it back in, close to a first down. In fact, he should have it. Jenkins leads the running backs in terms of touchdowns. He's got 3 of them so far this year, and he's just a freshman.
Nothing complex, but you know, when you got him out there, he makes every play look good. A couple of his touchdown runs, one of his touchdowns run last week especially, I mean, he just turned it on. He saw the goal line and just, boom, he was gone. That's nothing more than a long handoff, getting him outside there, getting him beyond the tackles. You get him past the first wave of big guys, and good luck.
That is a first down for BYU inside the 20-yard line. Pitch back. It's Jenkins again. He'll try the left side. There's a flag down way over on the right side. And look at all the Aggies that finally run Jenkins down. That's a loss, but let's check the flag that's clear over on the other side of the field.
signal is it's against BYU. But even so, just catching Jenkins even in the backfield, he could have lost 5 more yards on that play. And he found a way to get a few of them back.
Illegal formation on the offense. 73 was not on the line of scrimmage. Penalty is declined. Second down.
So they'll decline the penalty because of the loss on the run. And as you say, it was hilarious to look at how many Aggies were around him. By the time he got to the side, there was about 8 of them over there. Second down then and 13 now for the Cougars as they're back to the 20-yard line, already leading 3-0. 8:35 here to go in the first quarter. Beautiful night in Logan for football on this Friday night. And Sarkisian will back up into the shotgun. Mark Aitawaya in the backfield with him. The pass downfield. Oh, just off the fingertips of K.O. Kealalui. He's complained to the official that he was bumped. There was a little bumping going on there.
They grabbed his jersey as if they were saying they were holding him. And it looks like there might have been a little contact inside the 5-yard line. We'll see if we can get it at the end of the throw here. You can't see it on that angle. Just off his hand. And the thing is, and all receivers will tell you this, and KO certainly will, this is 2 balls he's been able to touch now, but he hasn't been able to catch. At this point, you can't tell it's a little late. But he'll tell you, if you can touch it, you ought to be able to catch it.
Well, KO's made a lot of very good catches.
He had one last week on 3rd and 24. He hauled him down at the run. Just laid out for it. It was beautiful. What a catch.
3rd down for Sarkisian. Oh, he's open. Oh, just at the last second, Mike Hudson gets there, but it was a good choice by Sarkisian to go to Mealy. But Hudson closed him, and I'm not sure, David, but I don't think Hudson even saw the ball.
He didn't. I think that ball either hit him in the back of the pads or the back of the helmet. It was a little underthrown. Mealy, you can see he's stuttering his steps, and he's turning around waiting on the ball. And I think the ball's going to... Yep. Unbelievable. Mealy, might have gotten to Mealy, but his hand went up at the last second. Hard to tell if he tipped it or not.
So another field goal coming. Ethan Pochman from 38 yards. And that one is no good. So the Aggies survive what could have been a drastic, they could have been down 10-0 right now, really. And they managed to dodge that.
They could have been down 14-0, really.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing, though, is that's the upside for the Aggies, that it could be 14-0. BYU has been down inside the 20 twice in the first 7 minutes of the game. It's only 3-zip. But the bad news is Utah State, we talked about this, how dinged up they are. John L. Smith says, coming into this game, we've got 5 healthy defensive linemen. We've got 1 substitute at defensive end. We have none at tackle. If we need a sub at tackle,
we're in trouble.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
There's Abu Wilson.
First down plays.
Abu picks up a few there. A good run for 5 yards.
If they need a sub at defensive tackle, they're going to have to use a converted tight end or a converted offensive lineman. They're very thin. They need to keep their defense off the field because they don't have subs to spell these guys.
And here are the starters on the Southwest starting lineup for the Aggies, Aaron Frazier and Steve Smith. But the leading wide receiver doesn't technically start. It's Nakia Jenkins. And, of course, Abu Wilson, and then Ride across the line. But as David pointed out, they are not very deep tonight. 5-yard pickup for the Aggies. 2nd down and 5. Matt Salk is the starting quarterback tonight. Aggies down by 3. And Wilson with a little hop, skip, and a jump to a first down, but there is a flag down, so hold on. Chris Ellison helped bring down Abu. This flag would indicate either an offside or an illegal motion.
It looks like it might have been BYU in the neutral zone. The linesman there just with a slight hand. Well, now he's pointing back with his left hand at the...
Shane Muirbrook was pointing.
And John L. Smith is thinking, if we have a penalty that costs us a first down, I'm going to be upset.
Offside on Utah State. Oh, look at John L. That picture tells it all. Southwest Airlines BYU defensive starting lineup. There's that defensive line, and they are a good bunch. Shane Muirbrook leading a fine crew of linebackers. And, of course, the secondary, Omar Morgan. He's been a real stud for this team.
Number 2 lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot.
So that'll back him up, and it's a 2nd and 10. And here we go.
This comes back to the discipline award again. The Aggies had the first down. that you line up in the neutral zone. And John L. is going to watch film tomorrow, and he's going to tell him, you can't line up in the neutral zone. The ball's lying there in the grass. Do not line up off sides.
Only he won't be quite so polite about it.
He won't be on TV at the time.
That's right. Second down, Aggies need 10. Matt Sock, quarterback, drops back to throw. Over the middle, and it's caught at the 30-yard line. They'll give him, he's going to be about half a yard short. It looks like Guillermo Chavez will be stopped about half a yard shy of the first down. Chavez, a bright spot as far as the receivers go, along with Nicky Jenkins, of course, a big tight end that came in just this year, just came in August.
Chavez had a couple of big catches in the Oklahoma State game, and this time they're not going to give him the first down. Now, the good news here for the Aggies, they've been very productive in 3rd and short. 3rd and 3 or less, they converted 6 of the first 7 times this year.
Get one here on the strength of Abu Wilson's legs. Pushes Spencer Reed at least enough to get the first down, but just barely.
They've been very productive in the short yardage all year. This time, they pick up the first down behind the left side of their line. This time, that penalty didn't hurt them. They got the first down. They kept moving, but you know, it's BYU. There's going to be enough problems on the field without creating more for yourself.
Exactly. Remember when we saw the Oklahoma State game, Abu Wilson fumbled, well, actually 3 times. They lost the ball twice, and the coach sat him down for a while. He's been hanging on the ball ever since. Screen pass to the outside, could be trouble, and it is for Nicky Jenkins. Almost got out of the initial hit of Omar Morgan, but the posse arrives and knocks him out of bounds.
Yeah, but and now a late flag goes down. They just threw a late flag, and it was right where the hit was, so there may have been a little talking right at the end of it.
Steve Smith, the other wide receiver who wasn't even involved in the play, is over there.
Morgan gets over there in a hurry, so there's nothing you can do but take the hit, but that's taking a pretty good hit, staying on your feet.
For BYU was over there lipping it with the Aggie players, and he got the flag called on him. You know, in talking to the coaches, David, you remember they said the Aggies will play a similar type of offense as does BYU, with a lot of wide open stuff. They throw to backs out of the backfield, throw to the tight end over the middle. Doing a little better this drive. The over the middle pass, they spread the field a little better, so the tight end was isolated one-on-one with the linebacker. Here they try to go wide, but BYU read it and defensed it perfectly. Omar Morgan is a great one right there for the stop.
That is a heck of a hit. But John L. Smith says, you know, we think we've got some good skilled people. We would rather protect 5 guys. Maybe they're going to throw a blitz at us, but he says if we get the ball out to our skilled people, they'll make plays. And that was an example, him just trying to get the ball out to a skilled guy and letting him make a play in the open field.
Well, right there, Abu Wilson was hit probably 2 yards deep in the backfield and still ends up with about a 3-yard pickup. They'll give him 2.
Yeah, but the key for Utah State is really making 5 yards on first down. We talked about this during the Oklahoma State broadcast. When they average 5 yards a carry running the ball on first down, they win the football game. They averaged 5 yards a game against Utah State. They averaged 8 yards a game against Northridge and blew them out. On the road, they had a lot of problems running the ball on first down, and that is really the indicator for the Utah State offense. If they run the ball on first down, they're in great shape.
Matt Sock looking downfield. Receiver is wide open, and it's Sean Turner. And Turner has a first down. Tim McTire was on the coverage, but somebody went the wrong direction, David, because no one was near him.
McTire slipped. McTire was backpedaling. Okay. He stopped. He planted. He was going to come back towards the line of scrimmage, and he just slipped and went down. And that left Turner wide open, and he got some yardage afterwards. Maybe on the replay here, you'll be able to see McTire. Probably not, because he's going to slip while the ball's in the air. Sock, plenty of time to throw. And McTire, you see McTire's just getting back up. He'd slipped at about the 38-yard line, but...
Sean Turner from Nampa, Idaho, picks up 20 yards on that pickup. And the Aggies have been able to throw the ball over the middle with some success. You saw Chavez, the tight end, with the catch back here, and now to Sean Turner. Back to the ground game with Abu Wilson, and he'll try to string it out, and he does. Wilson, and there's your 5-yard pickup, maybe even 6 on first down. And Reese, you're right in front of that, but it's impressive to watch this Omar Morgan, number 1. He is,
boy, isn't he quick getting to the ball?
He is something else.
He really is. He comes up so fast. I actually had my back to the tackle. I was getting out of here, too.
Oh, come on, stand in there, take it.
Reese is bailing out.
Yeah, 20 years ago I might have stayed, but...
oh, no, you wouldn't have.
I saw the flash, that number 1 coming from one side and number 1 coming from the other, and figured it was time to head for the stands.
Reese Stein with our Chuckarama sideline reports, and it's a 2nd down and 4, and more options now for the Aggies. They'll go back to the ground game. Wilson makes a quick juke to the outside and then cuts it back in. And look at him. Chris Ellison being taken for a ride by Abu Wilson before he's finally dropped. The Aggies pick up a first down.
John L. Smith said he planned to use the freshman Demario Brown in spots during this game. And we've seen Brown do some good work this year. He had a touchdown run at Oklahoma State. He said everybody's a little better when they have a little competition. He says Abu's the main guy. But, you know, it never hurts anyone to stand on the sideline and watch someone else do their job well. He says Brown's a good player in his own right, and it just fires Abu up. Well, I think Abu's already fired up. He's picking up some yards on his own on the last couple of carries.
Abu Wilson comes from San Francisco, but he's been in Logan long enough to know what a game against BYU means. Sock, quick pass over the middle, and Nakia Jenkins was hit immediately, and that's not a ball that many people are going to hang on to. Jason Walker popped him.
I think what happens is Sock expects him to keep running across the middle, and he stops and sits down in a little gap instead of running into the backer, but then he's got to go up there and take that hit to get to the ball. But that was a little miscommunication between him and the quarterback.
Reese, that could have been disastrous, too, because...
I think he saw that coming. Yeah, that could have been a pick. That could have been nasty. I'll tell you what, though, the Utah State offensive line is doing a great job in this series. Just watching them. BYU's playing them straight up. They're not stunning with 4 defensive linemen, and the Aggies holding their own.
Wilson tries the right side. Good yardage for Abu Wilson. Ellison again there on the tackle. He's been busy tonight. The secondary, they always love it when the running backs are coming at them, when they made it through the first 2 waves. But another good pickup.
Yeah, but if your secondary has to make too many tackles, eventually there's going to be trouble.
That's what I mean. They do not like to see that.
Troy Kima, the guard on the strong side, 6'3", 287 senior. Nice block to open that hole.
Big third down right here. The Aggies need 5 yards. Pass is almost intercepted. It was high, and Tim McTire had it in his hands.
It was tipped at the line of scrimmage.
Was it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but Abu Wilson wanted the ball. He was out in the flat, and he wanted the ball. But Sock had Abu on his left. He doesn't really look at him. There's where the ball's tipped, and oh, man.
Right in his hands, huh?
Right there. Here's one more look. There's the tip right there. And, oh, boy, right in your lap.
Well, Micah Knorr, 28 yards to tie up this game. And the big lefty cannot hit it. Knorr now 8 of 13 on field goals this year.
It is hard to push the ball across the field, and that's what he had to do right there. BYU missed their field goal in the same situation.
Cougars still lead it. We'll be back. BYU has the lead. Aggies last drive stopped and the field goal missed, and that's where we're at right now. Steve Sarkisian brings out his football team, young man from Torrance, California, played at El Camino. The top JC's around. They'll go back to the running game, and a big hole for Brian McKenzie. Good yardage, a 14-yard pickup all the way up to the 34-yard line. And if you do any serious scouting on the Aggies, you know that running is one way to success here. And on the forward power run, let's have another look.
I think at this point it's almost gravy. If BYU is able to run this effectively early on, that's great. But what I think what they really want to do is make sure they get 25, 30, 35 carries, keep pounding away on that defensive line, because they know the Aggies have no subs and they want to wear them down over the course of the game. And if you get big yardage early, that's just a bonus.
They go to the ground game once again. Dustin Johnston, and Johnston's got room. He crosses midfield and a big pickup. Danilo Robinson all the way downfield from his defensive line spot to tackle him along with Mike Hudson, but not before Johnson picks up 19 yards.
A guy like that, you're not just going to bump off his feet. You're going to have to wrap him up and drive him to the ground. And right there, that's just not going to bring him down.
Boy, did the BYU offensive line just clean everybody out of the way. I mean, he had the whole left side to work with.
2 plays, 2 huge gains on the ground. And they'll go back once again. And this time, Brian McKenzie doesn't have much room as he tries to crawl around the right side.
The Cougar coaches said the offensive line has been one of the pleasant surprises of this season, that they've come this far, this fast with the quality opposition they faced early in the year. They basically had 3 guys who didn't have a lot of experience at their current positions. They only had 2 guys who really came back and gave them some stability. Said what's amazing is when you consider we played Texas A&M, we played Washington. They started out pretty good, and they've been getting a little better every week. And they've been able to free up the tight ends to get out in pass patterns and not stay in and block, and that has made all the difference in the offense.
And what a bonus to have 2 tight ends that are so good out there. Sarkisian to throw. And nowhere to go here. He was in trouble. The receivers were covered.
And there's a flag down back in midfield.
Yep.
And Sarkisian is holding his right arm like it hurts, or his shoulder.
Ben Crosland is the one that hit Sarkisian, and that penalty is going against BYU. Crosland, by the way, 4 sacks on the year. And John Latu also helping out. Reese, apparently Latu's obviously going to get a lot of work tonight because they need him.
I'm not so sure Crosland didn't get there a little late on that hit on Sarkisian. The referee was standing there watching it, but boy, there was a good 2 counts after he released the ball before Crosland hit him, but the flag goes the other way.
Sarkisian's numbers, we saw him a second ago, 4-9 for 55 yards, but he got about half that yardage on that first pass to Mealy.
That's right. Mealy is such a big target, too, at 260 pounds. Seniors. BYU's rushing total before this drive was 15 yards. On this drive alone, they're at 35 yards. Of course, you have to take away what they've gained on that penalty. Sarkisian back to throw. He's in trouble. Gets out of trouble, though, and dumps it off to the outside. Mark Ituai's got it. He'll pick up about 6 yards. David Gill and Mike Hudson closed, and that's going to bring up a 3rd and long.
Great job by Sarkisian. Boy, they had him, and he just got away.
Well, it's going to be about 3rd and 13, but if you watch this play, it could have easily been 3rd and 20, maybe more than that if they get the sack on Sarkisian. But even now, it's 3rd and 20 if Ituai goes down right there. But a nice move in the open field, and he gets 5 or 6 yards on his own.
It's amazing to watch how that young man has developed in just a year. I remember seeing him in his first game against Air Force, almost panic-stricken at times. And there's a perfect example there where he just did his best to get out of trouble and made something out of it. 3rd and long, Sarkisian back to throw, going down to the sideline. Great pattern run by Kaipo McGuire.
And it's another 3rd and long, and the Aggies can't stop them. 3rd and 14. They converted a 3rd and 17 with the help of a penalty. Now they convert a 3rd and 14 going to McGuire. Who, boy, those aren't very good numbers. 24 catches, 405 yards, 5 touchdowns. You know what? It's interesting what you said about Sarkisian, because Norm Chow said, as you watch a great throw on 3rd and 14, he said Sarkisian really only had 2 bad games last year. He was a JC kid. He didn't get to sit in meetings for a year or 2 before he played, like a Steve Young did or like a McMahon did. He had to come right in and step in. He said the Air Force game is a little shaky, and he had problems against Utah, but he said, hey, a lot of guys had problems in that Utah game. He said he really only had 2 disappointing games as a junior, and now a year later, he's even better.
He grew in a hurry after that Air Force game last year. Mark Ituai tries the right side and gets about a yard. But another big pickup on 3rd down against Oklahoma State twice. That young quarterback for the Cowboys just decimated the Aggies on 3rd and long.
So that's both the good news and the bad news for Utah State. If, you know, they're good enough to play so many snaps with no problem. If they were a little more disciplined, the rewards would be huge. They would be right there with Oklahoma State. They'd be right there with Texas Tech. Although they are right there with BYU now. Just a 3-point game at the end of a quarter.
Work at Utah, so he's covered the state. 2nd down and 10. About 9.5 actually for Steve Sarkisian and the Cougars. Stark to throw. Pass is complete again to his tight end. And Mealy brought down by 4 Aggies. David Gill and Mike Hudson among them.
But it's a good thing there were 4 there, because you wonder if 3 could have done it.
Exactly.
This is why NFL teams are interested in him. They're actually looking at several Cougars, but he's the guy who really stands out. I mean, you better just help your teammates and run to the ball and get there, especially if it's Mealy, because he just is not going down. He can run away from the linebackers, and he can run over safeties. I mean, good grief. It's like playing football with your older brother, you know, and you got to get all your buddies in there to handle him because he's just too big and too fast.
23 straight games now that he has caught a pass in. They'll go back to the ground game. Mark out to Wyatt. He is wrapped up. No gain. Ben Crosland is there.
And Ben Crosland is celebrating because John L. Smith mentioned to us, he said, you know, Ben Crosland has been good against the pass the last couple weeks. He had the sacks at Oklahoma State, but he's not always been good against the run. He was very good against the run right there.
Another field goal attempt. We've seen a couple of them so far.
Yeah, but this one's from the middle of the field. This is from the middle of the field. It is 44 yards, but getting to the middle of the field means everything to a soccer-style kicker.
Hodgman's kick. And he got it. How about that? Yeah. So with 2 field goals, the Cougars go up 6-0. BYU up top 6-0, and there's John L. Smith saying, come on, guys, let's get some offense. Good to see the students back in session here. And the kick is underway. By the way, Pochman's field goal, 44 yards. That's his longest of the season. 42 was the longest prior to that one. And not a well set up kickoff return as the Cougars played that one very well. And Demario Brown doesn't have much room at all. And Utah State will start just beyond the 15-yard line.
Greg White, a freshman, doing a great job on Brown.
I think the real problem here is you take it, I got it. Somebody's got to return this, and somebody's got to block, and never bang into each other and then go the other way from your lead blocker. That'll be trouble every time.
1st and 10 for the Aggies. Matt Sock still the quarterback. Abu Wilson behind him. And Wilson around the right side and not gonna work. Spencer Reed broke through the line and was there to bring him down.
You know, he ran around the right side on the last possession for about a 6-yard gain on a 1st down. In that case, he ran outside and turned the corner on his own without a block. He just outran guys, but it's not going to do that every time. Total yards a little lopsided right now. But BYU with all those yards, they've been down close 3 times and settled for 3 field goal attempts and missed one of them. That is the big difference in the game. The other key stat is the turnover. Utah State's had one, BYU hasn't.
On the draw, Abu Wilson. Lots of room for Wilson. And he is very close to it. In fact, should have a 1st down.
He has to go just past the 26. We'll see where they spot it.
I'll put it at the 27. 26 and a half. 1st down.
Boy, Abu gets through the line untouched.
It's interesting to see an official spot a football after a tackle is made. It can be anywhere. There could be about an 8 to 10-inch discrepancy. You never know what you're going to end up with.
And then they bring the chains out and measure it with a micrometer. That always cracks me up.
So it is a 1st down, and Sock back to throw again. Gets it outside to Wilson. He's got room. Gets a good block downfield, and Wilson close to another 1st down before Tim McTire knocks him out of bounds.
Sean Turner threw the block, and anytime you see a big play, it's almost always a receiver's throwing a block to free somebody. We'll see if we can pick up Turner's block here. Sock looking downfield, then give a little time for the defense to drop and get off the line. There's a block right there. Turner opens things up for Abu Wilson. You got to love it when the receivers block.
Well, you know, we always see the receiver when he makes the 50-yard catch or he takes that catch over the middle, but so often you never see the stuff, the dirty work that they have to do that enables Wilson to pick up yardage like he did right there. And they're going to be the chains out here, Reese. Here you go.
After arbitrarily putting the ball down somewhere on the field, now we're going to measure it to the nearest millimeter.
And Lavelle Edwards is easing over. He's got a pretty good eye on this.
Looks like he's got it.
Let's see.
Oh, man, wait a minute.
Yeah, by a millimeter.
Coach Lavelle Edwards, 9-1 incidentally on Friday nights. I don't know if you knew that. 9-1 on Friday night football games.
That's probably a stat. It's probably a stat that he carries around his wallet.
He's got it right there. His only loss was to Colorado State a few years back. Bartolo, you remember him, Reese? Steve Bartolo. He ate up the Cougars one Friday night. That's their only loss under Coach Lavelle Edwards. Sock rolling to his right. Has a receiver downfield, and it is caught. That's going to be a first down, and Sean Turner is having a good night.
Makes a big block, then he makes a big catch.
There's the reward.
And he's got a little blood dripping off his elbow. He's mixing it up out there.
That's the kind of football player that John L. Smith loves. Tough kid. And on our Bank One big money play, let's have another look. Back to live action now. Wilson met at the line. Oh, the ball is fumbled. BYU's got it. Shea Muirbrook. Touchdown. Cougars. No flags down.
Well, Utah State got away with the first turnover, but the second one, BYU finally puts it in the end zone. The offense hasn't gotten there, but the defense does it. Shea Muirbrook, he's made a lot of big plays. He started the goal line stand at, finished off SMU with a big hit in the first quarter last week. Got the entire defense fired up, stopped SMU's opening drive, and BYU took over and dominated that game. And now a close game in the second quarter, and Muirbrook gets the touchdown.
We're going to have to look at that again because it looked like the ball might have just been ripped right out of the hand. I didn't see it flying around or bouncing on the ground. Point after is up and good, and it's a 13-0 Cougar lead just like that. We'll be back. Young man in the red and black running suit, Dixie football coach Greg Croshaw. Enjoying the football game up here. And the Cougars enjoying a 13-0 lead after Shea Muirbrook returns some sort of a fumble for a touchdown. That's DeMario Brown. And Brown with lots of room. And finally dragged down from behind, but what a terrific return by the freshman. And that's the kind of boost they needed. Certainly deserves a forward power run. Nice return by DeMario Brown.
You're talking about Greg Croshaw. Dixie, Ben Peterson is from St. George who made that saving tackle.
Back to live action now, and Abu Wilson on the draw picks up 5. And mistakes. You gotta control those mistakes. And on the other side of the football, BYU taking advantage on that last one. Reese, I know you were down there as well, but I mean, you could have been standing right next to that pile. You couldn't see exactly what was going on because it's like the ball was just torn out of Wilson's hands.
Well, you're waiting for Wilson to come one way, and all of a sudden everybody's going the other way.
Sock back to pass. Pass is complete to Jenkins. And Jenkins will have a first down.
I was just talking to John Lewandowski, the sports information director here at Utah State, about the exact yardage return on that. And he says, you know, in the middle of that pile, we're not exactly sure what yard line they pulled it loose, but I think it's going to be scored as a 45-yard fumble return for a touchdown.
There's Nakia Jenkins, leading receiver coming into this game for Utah State, and it's not by accident. They say he's got the best hands on this team. He's a big receiver, 6'1", 215-pounder, the junior college transfer. And he helps the Aggies to a first down. And Utah State, they want to stay in this ball game. They need to score. Sock to the air again. Complete. Jenkins, another big play.
And a key moment right here is going to come right on the completion. Watch the defensive back, McTire, trying to reach in and bat the ball down. Because he's going for the ball, he can't make the tackle. Jenkins stays on his feet and gets down, turns it into 1st and goal with a 30-yard catch and run.
Ball is at the 9-yard line. Abu Wilson takes it down to the 6 before Henry Bloomfield, who's close to 300 pounds from Taylorsville, is there to stop him.
Taylorsville High School having a good, he's got to be happy the way his alma mater's doing. Taylorsville High.
That's right.
4-1 off to a very quick start. So he's got to love the Y and Taylorsville, both 4-1. And actually, he played at Dixie, and they're ranked number 2 in the nation. They're unbeaten.
And their coach is standing on the sideline. And Dixie's fed quite a few players to these football teams. Second down from the 6. Sock has to throw that one away, and actually a wise decision on Matt Sock's case.
Brad Martin was camped out. He was ready to go to town. If Sock had thrown that there, that would have been 90 yards the other way, and we would have seen John L. Smith pacing the sideline again. Get that one out of there, and 3rd and 6.
You know what, though? The Aggies really want a touchdown here.
Plus, kicking a field goal off the left hash is rough, especially from that in close. It's not always the yardage, it's the position, especially in college football. Unlike the pros, college hash marks are a lot wider. The kickers get left with bad angles.
Yep.
And this would be one if they try to throw here on 3rd and 6.
Sock wide open. Touchdown, Aggies. Chavez, touchdown for the Aggies, and someone missed an assignment there because he was uncovered. Micah Knorr for the point after. And we are back to a 6-point ball game. Don't go away, folks. We got a dandy here in Logan. Of course, that last touchdown really set up by a fine kickoff return for DeMario Brown.
Yeah, you know, and that got the Aggies really inspired, too. We said before the game they could move the ball. They just have to learn to hang on to it. And what a great series that was all the way down. Aggies actually had Brown open in the end zone. He had a couple of options he could have gone to, but he picked the man who was wide open for the touchdown.
The Aggie student section is going nuts right now. This place is packed. They set the record crowd, I think, 31,000 against Utah in 1994. We may be close to that tonight. This is a huge crowd.
It's so tough to get college students riled up, too, isn't it? You know? Kick is underway, and this one will be returned right into the hands of James Dye at the 5-yard line. And Dye tries to get around the right side, but Eddie, oh man, I've been waiting all year for this. Bada banga! With the tackle.
Well, I don't think it's occurred to the Aggie fans yet who James Dye is. He's had 2 kick returns, and the crowd just kind of watches him. This guy's a traitor. Don't they know that? That he used to play at Utah State before transferring up to BYU. We thought he'd get a little nastier reception than he has.
James Dye, when he was here, actually played some running back as well, Reese, as I recall.
A great receiver.
Yeah, and receiver. So the Cougars come out now. Steve Sarkisian at quarterback, 1st and 10. Passes complete to McGuire on the right side. Wrapped up by Dwayne Nelson, but Typo is going to have a 1st down, but there is a flag down.
That may have been a late hit on the Aggies on the sideline.
Well, Ben Crosland was over there along with Spencer Wagner.
Sarkisian was holding his shoulder and his arm earlier, but you know, we're really not seeing much evidence of that. He made a great throw on 3rd and 14, and he made another nice throw here. If he's hurting, he's playing through it.
Might have been Eric Bateman that got popped, the big lineman for BYU, was just kind of standing there at the end of the play, and one of the Aggies ran into him, and that could be the call. And another thing that'll please John L. Smith.
Dead ball, personal foul on the defense, number 3, 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
Oh boy, watching the upper left here. John Dale Carty. Oh, Cardi knocks over the 315-pounder, and once he starts falling, he knows that he's not going to catch himself.
If you catch yourself, you might not get the call.
Yeah, that's true. That's like knocking down a building. Costly. That moves the Cougars to near midfield. Sarkisian almost loses the snap. Pass is complete. Close to another first down. K.O. Kealalui. Craig Miller there on defense.
I don't think K.O. got the first down, and quite frankly, I think if BYU had their choice, they'd rather not have it. This is going to give them second and short. They got a free play here.
K.O. is short by a yard. K.O. Kealalui is given first name Levi.
Yeah, but K.O., I mean, that's just
great, isn't it?
You know. He delivered the knockout punch.
He's a tough kid, too.
And he actually has got a couple big touchdown passes that put people away this year.
Second down and a yard. As you mentioned, possibly a free play, an opportunity to throw the ball deep or hand it off. Mark Itawaya, second effort gets him the first down. Huh, Reese?
He was stopped behind the line of scrimmage a yard and a half and just slipped off the tacklers and sneaked up and across the 30-yard line there. Is that the 30? 40-yard line for the first down.
Mark Itawaya from Hawaii went to the same high school as Atula Mealy, and one of the linemen as well. 41 kids on this BYU football team come out of California. 27 come out of Utah. And they get a handful out of Hawaii as well. First and 10, Sarkisian. Got a wide open tight end if he wants him, but he'll throw downfield, complete to McGuire. Kaipo dragged down. There's a flag down right. Oh, flags all over the place. Flags and bodies everywhere. Spencer Wagner's there. Craig Miller, Mike Hudson, all to help out defensively, but this will be a mess that will need to be sorted out. And Mike Hudson is already jumping up and down near the refs. Does not like what's coming. 21-yard pickup plus whatever the officials give the Cougars here.
It's going to be that face mask right there at the end of the play. Got his neck stretched there pretty good.
And that is the call, so give him some more.
Well, the BYU offense has threatened 3 times. This is the 4th time they've gotten down in close, but they have got to finish it off.
Well, their red zone coming into this game, 19 of 25 as you look at Lavelle Edwards there. Only 3 of 6 against SMU.
Here in the press box, please claim him immediately.
And there was another shot of the mask right there. Yeah, they have 19 scores in 25 attempts, 14 touchdowns, 5 field goals, but not getting the touchdowns now, and John L. is upset.
That's been frustrating the last few weeks, the mistakes that have hurt this team.
I don't know what he's arguing about. He shouldn't be arguing about the face mask. I don't know. I don't know what he's upset about right now.
He had a good view of it from way over there.
5-yard face mask during the run. 5-yard penalty tacked onto the end. First down.
And it was just 5 yards. It wasn't the major. It wasn't.
Steve Sarkisian has completed his last 6 passing attempts. So he's on a roll now, and he's got the Cougars inside the 15-yard line. Cougars trying to score here. Good crowd on hand here for Friday night football game between BYU and Utah State. Handoff. Jenkins. And Jenkins, good yardage, should be a first down. Down inside the 5.
We've just gotten the attendance figures for the game. You mentioned the nice crowd. 33,119, a new record. There are people, the stands are packed. There are people sitting on the bank above the goal line in what would be the second level up under the light stand. There are people all over this place, sitting on hills, sitting on
Look
grass
at them in the
knolls.
bushes up there at the south end on the east side. They're in the bushes. I hope that isn't poison ivy. That could be disastrous up there. They're everywhere in this place. Can you remember a BYU team that had so many effective running backs as this one? They just keep coming at you.
McKenzie, Johnson, Atawaya, Ronnie Jenkins.
And they've all been effective tonight?
Yeah. First and goal. They'll try the left side. They got it. Brian McKenzie goes in for the Cougars, and they are up 19-7, pending the point after. Cellular technology point after will put the Cougars up 20-7. Ethan Putchman's kick is good, and that was some quick damage there in a hurry. So they're going to go for two. Is that still sponsored? Nice. Some Keejian's passes. They got it. K.O. Kalalui, 21-7. Cougars looking good on that drive. A couple of very nice passes from Steve Sarkisian to set things up. A couple of mistakes penalty-wise for Utah State, and finished off right here on the ground with Brian McKenzie.
He got one last week, and he got another one this week, and then they go to the air. And KO is pretty wide open over the corner of the end zone, but a nice catch here. And that gets the lead back up to 14, so the two touchdowns just tied, 21-7. Offsets the settling for those field goals a little bit.
Well, you know, you hate to keep saying, oh, the score could be, but.
Well, you know, the key is when you make a big play, you always want to come back with a stop immediately after that. When you get the big score, you want the defense to go out there and shut them down. So the BYU defense got that big play with the touchdown when they ran the fumble back 45 yards. Then you want the stop, but Utah State went right down the field and scored. So Utah State, having gotten back within 6, they want the big stop, but BYU went right down the field and scored. And Reese, is this beginning to look like 1993?
Well, it's a little more one-sided than 1993. The Aggies have got to quit shooting themselves in the foot, as we said before the game. They can move the ball, but this last drive, I don't know if they could have stopped BYU anyway, but they sure helped them along with the personal foul penalties and then the penalty here right down on the 20-yard line. So if the Aggies can settle down and get a little maturity here, they can do all right.
Cellular technology kickoff is fielded by Steve Smith.
Oh.
Wow. And he took a hit.
In retrospect, that probably shouldn't have been brought out.
Probably not.
Hindsight, it's beautiful.
Derek Stevenson with the pop, and the Aggies will have to start at just beyond their 10-yard line. And you're right, and he was well deep.
He was a good 4 yards deep in the end zone there. 2 full steps, he was still in the end zone. And, you know, depending on who you are, with some guys the rule is if you catch in the end zone, you stay. Some guys, if they're a step, maybe a step and a half, but he was a good 2.5 steps deep in the end zone.
Something tells me that's not his rule. We shall see. 7:16 to go here in the first half up in Logan. The Aggies trailing BYU. The Cougars up 21-7 right now. Matt Sock in quarterback. Pass is complete to Jenkins. And Jenkins will be just shy of the first down. Omar Morgan brought him down there.
Well, Utah State definitely needs to keep a drive going here. That's a good start. They've had some stuff open underneath, some of the shorter stuff.
I'll tell you, Matt Sock looks good. He's confident back there. He's not running scared. He's making good, crisp passes.
Had a rough start with the interception on the first play, but after that.
Abu Wilson gets him the first down. Running off right tackle. Spencer Reed finally there to stop him. Yeah, that first pass was tipped. And since then, Matt Sock has definitely settled down.
Well, the Aggies definitely want to score here, but in a perfect world, there's 6:37 left in the half. They'd like to eat up most of this time, keep that defense off the field. They don't want the BYU offense to get any rhythm going. You know, the BYU offense just got their first TD of the night. Keep them off the field, rest that depleted defensive line. You've hardly got any depth at all there. In the perfect world, a long time-consuming scoring drive here, and you get into the locker room at 21-14.
1st and 10. Oh, Sock threw that pass into double coverage, but Sean Turner reached out the hands and hauled it in. And that pass pass. And Reese, as you said, his passes are crisp. That one had to be on the money.
Well, you know, and he's got a cannon for arm. Remember in the Utah game, he had to come in after Patrick Mullins got hurt. His first 3 or 4 passes just skipped off the hands of his receivers. He was throwing so hard. Then they finally settled into a rhythm, and his completion percentage wasn't that good, but his passes look great. Tonight, they're a little more aware of how hard he throws. And, of course, Turner, a great receiver, a tradition of great receivers at Utah State. He's another one.
Oh, Evan Wilson.
And then he gets away.
Yeah, he got hit immediately by Muirbrook and bounced off that. Mack manages to pick up about 1.5 yards, but that could have been a 2-yard loss. But it's still going to bring up a very big third down play for Utah State offensively and BYU defensively. We've got 3rd and 4.
That was a big hit. He just keeps on going.
Trouble. Gets out of trouble. Lobs it downfield into coverage, and it is broken up. Chavez was the intended receiver. Eddie Sampson there to help break it up, and Chavez a little slow getting up. He's okay, though, but that was tough to throw in. There were at least 3 or 4 Cougars down there.
Well, John L. Smith says one of the reasons he goes with Salk and not with Mullins is he says Salk is a little better at getting away from the rush, and here we see it. He's in trouble, gets outside, little straight arm there, gets to the sideline, and then tries to throw the touch pass in between 3 Cougars, and it is almost complete.
Yeah.
Cougar coaches want a little pass interference.
James Dye standing at the 25-yard line awaiting the punt of Nathan Moriality.
Got a job just to get that away.
And then a nice kick.
Down to the 19-yard line is where they'll down that. So there's 4:47 to go in the half, and now the Cougars would like to chew up some time and perhaps get into the end zone one more time before halftime. 49-yard kick for Nathan Moriality. Lavelle Edwards, head coach of BYU. 17 straight bowl appearances up until last year. 17 WAC titles.
Here's a look at the punt. Low and inside. Great job at getting that ball and then getting it away.
It's amazing you got a 49-yarder after all that.
Are they bringing this back?
Now something. Apparently they are. The officials are coming all the way back.
They're bringing this back, and I didn't see a flag.
I didn't either, and what's more, neither did the teams because both the special teams left the field.
On the kicking team, 5-yard penalty, previous spot. Repeat, 4th down. Number 21.
Well, nobody saw that coming. The offense isn't for BYU. The defense for Utah State, the BYU offense were out on the field. Nobody saw that.
Well, obviously they'll take that again.
Well, that is a great break for BYU because that was a good kick and no return. And you always want to give James Dye one more chance.
Absolutely. So Nathan Moriality again to kick. This time Dye's up at his 32-yard line. This time the snap's high. He still gets it away. And it still bounces. And it's going to be all the way down to the 12.
And that snap was high. And there's a late hit on BYU that's going to back it up even more.
61-yard punt for Nathan Moriality.
Derek Stevenson threw an Aggie to the ground. I think it was Adam Jones. It was away from the ball. It was upfield about 15 yards. I don't even know if we'll have a replay of it because, quite frankly, it was nowhere near the ball. There'd be no reason to unless we got lucky. But he just picked him up as they were getting ready to jog to the sideline, threw him down, and he did it like 10 yards in front of a ref. The linesman could not have missed that if he tried.
There was no one else near the official.
You know, there was no hang time on that line drive kick, and that always scares you. But Aaron Moore did a great job of getting down there, or Aaron Frazier, that is a great job of getting down there, and Dye didn't want any part of that ball with Frazier coming right down on him. Did a great job of coverage.
Well, the problem for Dye was it was knuckling at him, which is a little tough to judge when it's coming at you. And also, it was a little short. He would have had to come up and catch it on the dead run, and those can be a little tricky if they come in knuckling and a little low.
Personal foul, number 54. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
That's Nathan Moriality's longest punt of the season by 10 yards. And then you add on the penalty, and the Cougars are back to the 6-yard line. 4.5 minutes to play here in the first half. BYU leads it 21-7. And we have seen a variety of penalties and mistakes. fumbled and recovered by the Cougars, but it's at the 1-yard line. In fact, inside the 1-yard line. As Ronnie Jenkins, no, that was Brian McKenzie having a little trouble there with the exchange. Oh, was the snap.
Just came straight out from center and never got up to Sarkisian.
Frankly, McKenzie did a great job of wrapping it up because that ball rolls a little further.
That could have been a gift touchdown if he hadn't picked it up. And there were two Aggies closing in a hurry.
2nd and 15 now, and the Cougars are in their end zone. And a pile up at the line won't net much. Perhaps half a yard. McKenzie.
You know, we talked about this all the way through the Oklahoma State game. We saw time and again 3rd and long. We've seen a couple big examples of 3rd and long tonight. And here it is again. It's going to be 3rd, and depending on where they spot this, probably about 13 or 14. Oh, they're going to spot it at 2. That's going to be 3rd and 14.
I don't know why the Aggies aren't stopping the clock here, using some of their timeouts and force BYU maybe to punt out of their own end zone.
Well, you still got 3:25 to go. You can, depending on where you get the ball in field position, you got enough time to go in.
Well, there are a number of plays that flash through the mind when you see this formation. Tony Dorsett against the Vikings, things like that. 3rd down and 14. Sarkisian into the air. He's got an open receiver right in the middle. It won't be a first down, but they do get out of trouble and have a lot more room to punt the ball away.
Well, the key thing is you want your punter 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Where they were lined up, they would have only had 10 or 11. And if there's a bad snap, the punter standing on the back line, it could be a safety easily. Now they'll have some room to operate. Sarkisian, they weren't even going for the first down. He comes back to the ball, and he is 5 yards short, unless he ran to the wrong yard mark and didn't realize where he was. He needed to go to the 16, not the 11. But you can see at least
I think you're right.
Room to mark.
They wanted to get some room, and Lavelle Edwards has a lot of confidence in his defense right now, especially in this game tonight. Alan Boardman, the punt, young man from Kanab, Utah. Oh, and he got off of what appeared to be a beauty before the wind caught it. Bandy grabs it at the 50 in full stride, and then, oh, did he get hit at the 43-yard line. He got nailed and knocked back a couple of yards. Jeff Ellis delivered the big hit, so the Aggies will have 2:20 to go and good field position.
2:20 in all their timeouts at the BYU 42. They got plenty of time here. Get a score in and tighten this game up a little before the half.
Don't forget, in the second half, the Aggies did defer the kickoff, so they will get the ball first to start the second half. BYU trying to keep Utah State out of the end zone here and go in with that 14-point halftime lead. Sock on the draw to Wilson. Oh man, was that a beautiful fake? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it now. I went with Abu. Okay, he sold me. Pass is complete for a first down to Steve Smith. Oh man, that's when it really works.
There's the play action fake, puts the ball on his hip. The cameraman went with you.
Yeah.
It's not just you. You're not flying solo on that.
Absolutely. That was Chad. Is that Chad up there on the roof? Yeah, my man.
Wow, did he really give the ball to Abu? I was blinking right in my eyes. I didn't know what was going on.
First down. Sock. And they'll halt everything here, which indicates an offensive penalty.
That'll cost the Aggies.
Well, it wouldn't be an Aggie drive without a penalty somewhere.
It's something that's actually haunted both these teams.
Yeah,
BYU has played several games at which afterwards in the post game, as we see John L. grimacing.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 66 offense, still first down, 5-yard penalty.
Lavelle's walking off the field, and you ask him what he didn't like. He said, well, penalties. So both teams have had their problems with them. Oh, and there was a motion right there. It was the guard, right guard.
That would be
That'll back it up.
Dixie College guys. Like you said, there are a lot of Dixie.
2:09 on the clock.
They started the clock on that play, and the play was whistled dead before the snap, so they want to put the 4 seconds on that ran off during the play that never happened. You wonder who's on that Dixie team right now we're going to be hearing about.
As we mentioned Greg Croshaw here. They have fed a lot of players up into these programs. The running back BYU had a couple years ago from Las Vegas that came out of Dixie College. Kalen Hall, exactly. Sock on the screen. Abu Wilson.
Abu was thinking about what kind of move he was going to put on him, and Walker was closing. He's thinking, am I going around this guy down the sideline? Am I cutting this back in?
Or does he get a pancake? That's what Abu was. Oh, boy.
I don't think Walker was closing fast enough to get that, but...
Abu Wilson, 6'1", 220. Great size for a running back. There's Matt Sock's numbers.
Abu leaves immediately, and in comes Brown. And we were told we were going to see Brown, partly as a motivational thing, and partly because he's produced.
Well, DeMario Brown is a favorite of this coaching staff. They love this young man. True freshman. Second down, Matt Sock runs out of trouble. Lofts it downfield, and it's short. And he just really didn't have the position and to throw that ball where he needed to. He's kind of running the opposite direction and gave it all he could. Steve Smith, the intended target, but it didn't really have a chance to make it all the way down there.
He was about to get drilled, too.
Yeah.
That was part of it. Shane Herberg, I think it was closing in a hurry.
Yeah, he was leaning back on his heels a little bit, and good coverage by Tim McTire in the end zone.
Now you got a third down, and it's a big one for the Aggies. 1:47 to play here in the first half. They're down by 14.
It'll be interesting to see what they do here if they intend to go for it, because they're kind of getting into no man's land here. 36, that's a 53-yard field goal, but it's too close to punt. It might be, depending on what they do on this play, if they get some of the yardage, it might be 4-down territory. Unless, of course, Smith doesn't know the snap count, in which case it's 3rd and 20.
Well, Steve Smith was about 5 yards downfield, and nobody else had moved.
There he is, wide open, too. Could have hit him.
Yeah, they should have just hiked it and thrown it. I don't think no one had noticed.
No, John L. Smith,
John L.
we got that shot of John L. just as he grabbed the water bottle, but he was hands on hips over there looking at Smith.
Oh, dear.
Smith better hope that this
Dead ball.
drive can...
Encroachment on the offense, number 3. 5-yard penalty.
And Smith better hope that this drive eats up the rest of the half and ends up in the end zone, because he does not want to have to run to the sideline past John L. That will be no fun at all.
Well, you know, they subbed wide receiver right there, and it was Sean Turner who left the field, not Smith. He is still on the field. And now the Aggies need to get down close to the 20-yard line. It's 3rd and 20. Oh, boy. Sock lofts it.
Oh, look at this.
Chavez. Oh, just overthrown.
Chavez had all the time in the world to get under that and didn't back up far enough. Couldn't believe Sock could throw it that far on the run.
You know, Reese, it was almost like a punt. That ball was so high, and Chavez was backpedaling and trying to read it.
Try not to watch the ball. Watch the hit Sock takes. Watch how he throws this ball. Watch how far it goes, but watch the hit. He unloads it. Oh, man. And think how far he threw it. And he overthrew him. How good. You know, we saw him do that. Remember against Utah, he rolled out and threw back across the field and overthrew a guy. He has an unbelievable arm. And now, because of the penalty, oh, man, that was almost 21-14 with a minute and a half to go in the half. But now, because of that earlier procedure penalty, now they are back where they can punt at the 41.
Well, that's good news.
Boy, that's one that got away. He was wide open. Nobody there, just didn't backpedal fast enough.
But, you know, a safety isn't thinking he can throw that far when he's in midair. His feet aren't set. He's about to get leveled. You're not supposed to be able to throw that far.
Well, and as you pointed out, even Chavez didn't think he could throw that far because he quit running.
He did.
He
was
stopped and then realized,
whoa, wait a minute. And the wind, and that was into the wind, too. The wind, at least we don't notice much wind down here on the field. The flags, though, we're blowing into them.
We'll take a break and be back. Cougars up 14.
Cellular Technology has joined forces with Anderson Lumber to create Utah's most convenient cellular phone dealer network. And for a limited time, all phones are free when you purchase a service contract from AirTouch Cellular. Not just some phones, all. Choose from Sony, Ericsson, AudioVox, NEC, Nokia, and Motorola. With no hidden charges. All phones free. Enjoy great AirTouch Cellular service and get your free cellular phone from Cellular Technology inside Anderson Lumber locations along the Wasatch Front.
21-7 is our score here as we approach halftime. A wild play that the Aggies finished off that last drive on. There's some BYU fans, quite a few of them up here in Logan on a great night for football. And the Aggies will now punt the ball away. Nathan Moriali, this time a low snap. And this one's going to go into the end zone. So the Cougars will come out of the 20-yard line. Minute and a half to go after the 41-yard kick. And the Cougars, with a minute and a half of this kind of offense, has plenty of time to move the ball downfield.
I think the real question will be in the play calling here. Do the Cougars want to open it up, backed up at their own 20-yard line? And the thing about Sarkisian is he's been making such good decisions this year. He's made so few mistakes, you probably can't afford to. He's got 14 touchdown passes, only 5 interceptions. That's an awfully good ratio, 3 to 1. You take that every time.
Sarkisian brains him out. Sark to the air, quick pass over the middle, and it's the tight end, this time Chad Lewis. And the Cougars are going with the no huddle. They have 2 timeouts left. Clock will stop long enough to move the chains. On the ground, around the left side, Dustin Johnson. And they'll keep the clock moving as he ended up staying inbounds, just shy of the 40-yard line.
David Gill did get him in bounds. The clock is moving. BYU does have 2 timeouts to work with here if they want to use them. They might be saving one of those 2 to get the field goal team on the field.
Sarkisian looking outside, and KO cannot hang on.
That's probably a good thing for the Cougars and a bad thing for the Aggies, because he was inbound. That clock would have kept running instead. Now this clock stopped with 50 seconds. Sarkisian can get a play in from the sideline.
Steve Sarkisian, as you mentioned, only 5 interceptions all season. Great ratio. Coming into this game, he'd thrown over 30 passes in a row without an interception. And he's got a 3rd down and 2 now. And Sark will drop back. And in this formation, you got to look to the tight end. He's got 2 of them. He'll take it out of the backfield, though, to Dustin Johnson again.
But Gill caught him from behind in bounds. Now the clock will stop briefly here while they move the first down markers, move the sticks. 43 seconds left in the half.
BYU trying to add to their 21-7 lead.
David Gill playing that big old cast, and he's out there dragging guys down from behind with one hand.
Sarkisian, all kinds of time. Mealy. And Mealy has the ball at the 40, down to the 35-yard line. Again, the clock will stop long enough to move the chains. 30 seconds.
And they've been throwing pretty short all this drive, but you got to wonder with 30 seconds left, at some point Sarkisian might take a pop or 2 at the end zone here. A field goal from here would be a 52-yarder, so they do need one more completion to make this a little higher percentage.
Pass is complete inside the 30. McGuire.
Yeah, McGuire wanted to turn that back inside. He figured the defensive back's going to try and take it to the sideline. I'm going to try and go back inside
And they have
maybe
to
make a big play, and then he slips and falls, so he doesn't stop the clock and he doesn't make the big play, and they burn one of the 2 timeouts.
Now you got to save 1, of course, for the field goal.
Yeah, but you got 18 seconds, so you got a chance to get maybe 2 plays in here before you kick the field goal. And you'll see right here, Kaipo, he is not happy. Yeah, but you got 18 seconds, you got 2 plays, so you might want to take 1 pop to the end zone right now, and then you can throw short and use your timeout the second one if you want. Although you almost can take, it'd be what, 46-yard field goal here? Depends on how much.
That's where it would be now.
Depends on how much faith they've got in his range.
Well, Steve Sarkisian has had a dynamite second quarter, completing 10 of his 11 passing attempts. And just
the
no
incompletion was a drop. He hit the receiver. It was in this drive. 16 of 21, 188 yards for the game.
On the other side, John L. Smith trying to rally his troops and get them going. It's still a young team for John L. Smith. There's Steve Sarkisian. Came over to BYU prior to last season. Actually, a buddy of John Walsh's, the quarterback who was involved in the last shootout here at Romney Stadium.
Threw for over 600 yards and lost.
Didn't a Utah quarterback do that a few years ago, Reese?
I believe Scott Mitchell did that against the Air Force.
Air Force, yeah.
Lost at home.
Well, it sounds odd to think you could throw for 600 yards and lose, but really the only reason you throw for 600 yards in the first place is you are losing. If you get the lead, you're not still airing it out. Usually.
631 yards, I think, to be exact, were Scott Mitchell's numbers on that night. Good crowd on hand here. In fact, the best that they've had. And as we pointed out earlier, they are everywhere. Now on both sides of the East grandstands, the fans are just scattered around up in the bushes. Take a look at that. Now, are those tickets? How does that read on your ticket?
Standing room only.
Bush room only, huh?
But we asked, you and I were talking to Lavelle earlier today, Reese, and we asked him, there aren't a lot of WAC teams going to Big West teams. I think you're the only one this year. Why keep coming up here? And he says, well, it's tradition. It's an in-state game, and you got to imagine that part of it is he went here,
Well, it's an in-state rivalry, and there's been a tradition. They've played 60 some odd times, and it's been a great rivalry over the years. Utah State dominated for a long time. The Aggies got it rolling in the last 20 years under Lavelle, although the Aggies beat Lavelle the first 3 times he was the head coach, and then he's got it turned around. And just 2 years ago, the last time they played, the Aggies the BYU finally took the lead in this series, and it's a great rivalry, especially for Utah State and Utah State fans.
BYU started this drive at their own 20 with a minute and a half to go. Now they're inside the Aggie 20, 17 seconds. Sarkisian is going to the end zone. Just barely beyond the reach of KO.
Sarkisian had forever to throw that ball. Now they still got 12 seconds and a timeout, so they can either take one more crack at the end zone or they can throw something over the middle and get a shorter field goal attempt. But you just had a feeling somewhere at this drive they were going to stop nickel and diamond down the field and try to get the touchdown. KO just can't get there. Boy, that looks like the catch he made against SMU last week at the 1. Completely stretched out. This time he just couldn't quite get to it.
Third down here, 12 seconds to go. This will be their last play before they take the timeout. And almost intercepted. And they won't need to take a timeout, but there are 6 seconds on the clock, so the field goal unit will come in. And this will be a long one from a hash mark.
Yeah, but the good news is, at least it's from the right hash, with the right foot, soccer-style kicker. Your normal motion, you're going to pull the ball a little bit. For a right-footed kicker, it's the left hash that's the problem. And when he missed earlier in this game, he missed off the left hash. The right hash is much easier on a right-footed kicker.
47 yards.
It's good.
Puts 3 more on the board, and let's go down to Reese Stein, who's on the football field looking for Coach Lavelle Edwards.
And trying not to get trampled by excited football players. Here's Lavelle.
Well, it's a hard game, just like we knew it would be, and it's not a bit surprising. I was pleased with the way we played defensively, and I thought we got going a little bit better offensively, so I feel real good right now.
It's an extremely physical game, hasn't it?
Oh, no question. I knew it would be, because these guys are good, and they play well at home, and they got their crowd here. First game with their students, so it's not a bit surprising.
What were you thinking when you saw Chavez all alone in the end zone down there?
Throw it long.
He did.
He did.
Second half coming up. Lavelle Edwards with a 24-7 lead. And David, it could have been 21-14 had Chavez pulled that one in.
That's great, Reese. Our Chuckarama sideline reports. Reese Stein. Potchman, by the way, 47-yard field goal is a career long for him. Great comment from Lavelle Edwards. Throw it long. And he did.
I could be wrong, but I just think I heard the Den Bite of the week right there. I think we pretty much can pick that now.
That was great. All right, we are at halftime. BYU leads the Aggies 24-7. We'll take a timeout and send you back to the KUTV studios for a 2 News update. nearly a flawless drive at the end of that half.
I'm sure he was.
Be returned. And out comes Utah State. And this is a drive they need to come up with some points on. Coach Lavelle Edwards had a great comment at the end of the first half when, if you didn't catch that one, Reese Stein asked him about that long bomb that was thrown to Chavez, and all coach could say was overthrow it. Abu Wilson, ball is tipped and he can't get it.
That was a good one by Keel there, getting out and getting in the way as they tried to run the short swing pass there.
So it'll bring up a second down and 10. And John L. Smith definitely had a sense of urgency in his voice when he came out there in the second half. And the Aggies, who deferred and gave away the ball to start the game, get to start the second half with the football, but they've got to get something out of this. And Abu Wilson gets a few.
We should mention that the weather here has been changing. We had a beautiful, just almost like a midsummer feel at kickoff, but the wind, which died down at kickoff, was blowing pretty hard about 5:30. It is kicked back up, and right now, I don't know what it's like down on the field, but up in the stands, it is really gusting. The flags at the end of the field are blowing hard, and it looks like the Aggies should have the wind at their back, at least if the ball's up in the jet stream.
You know, the wind's actually blowing the other way down here on the field.
Third down, Aggies need to cross the 30-yard line. Chavez has it with room. First down for Guillermo Chavez, and give him a few more. Steve Smith out there trying to set a block for him before Jason Walker. Oh, here's a flag.
They're mixing it up on the far sideline, and it looked like an Aggie got thrown down over there. I couldn't tell who it was. I think it might have been Frazier.
82.
Yeah, it's Frazier. Yeah. We'll see if we can see it at the end of the play, but it was long after the play. Chavez here wide open coming across the middle.
And it's going against BYU.
And we'll see if we see it here at the end of the play. There's Frazier standing up, and Muirbrook's got him, and Muirbrook sends him and two teammates down. And Chavez is walking away. He didn't even know what happened.
Muirbrook it. One fell swoop. He takes down.
Dead ball, personal foul, number 46 on the defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Shea still back there, John, with some of the Aggies. That's a big gainer for Utah State then. As they cross midfield.
The thing is, BYU had finally got a little bit of a cushion going. They've taken this record crowd of 33,000 out of the game a little bit. You don't need to let Utah State come out at the half, go right down the field, get the crowd back into the game, get a touchdown, get a little confidence.
And that is exactly what the Aggies are trying to do. Just underway here in the second half. Abu Wilson hit once the line of scrimmage, and he will pick up maybe a yard and a half, but the Cougars read that one and stuffed it.
Henry Bloomfield going for the ball in the backfield, just reached out a big paw, tried to swat it away, but Abu hanging on.
Well, they've probably seen the tapes. That's the thing. Once you have a game like Abu had, you know what I mean? He's having a great career. He's setting all kinds of rushing records, touchdowns. I mean, in a game, in a season, in a career, he is just cleaning up in the record book. He has some conference records. But the reason they're going for the ball right there, they saw the Oklahoma State tape. They saw him put the ball on the ground 3 times. And once they see that, they really go after you.
Matt Sock to the air. Pass just beyond the fingertips. That's one of those, if it can touch your hands. Steve Smith can't hang on. Ben Cook defending. He's a Snow junior college transfer. Ben Cook, the junior.
He really is not all that open. Those are dangerous passes out there in the flat. Cook timing it really close, getting there.
And now they've got a 3rd and long. So BYU's defense buckles down on those 2 plays as the Aggies can only come up with a yard and a half in 2. Matt Sock from the shotgun. Looking at Chavez the whole way. Oh, and he had it right in his hands.
He might have been short of the first down because he was hit as soon as he got the ball.
He was short actually by about a yard and a half, but Sock was looking that way, and that's the guy he wanted.
Threw it a little behind him. Boy, more and more he's looking at Chavez, though. And he's got the first touchdown of the night. He went to him and almost got another one before the half. He threw to him earlier in this drive, and now he's going to him again. And it is a little behind him.
His first pass of the game is that same pass right over the middle, and it didn't work. It was picked, but he's come back with it successfully several times. That one almost works.
Nathan Moriali gets the kick away and die at the 10-yard line. We'll let that one bounce.
Coffin corner.
Down to the 5-yard line. And that's where they will spot it. Well, they'll give him to the 6. So BYU, after a 41-yard punt by the Aggies, will take over at the 6-yard line. So they come right out and hold Utah State on the Aggies' first possession. And we'll be back to see what the Cougars do now. Leading. Getting a little chilly here in Romney Stadium, but the Cougars keep it nice and warm. A 24-7 lead as they go to battle with the Aggies of Utah State. Utah State could manage to win this game, by the way. It would even up the series. But right now, BYU in control. Steve Sarkisian has the football and his team at the 6-yard line after the Aggie punt. Quick handoff to Jenkins. Here comes a flag sailing in from the corner, and Jenkins will pick up about 3 yards. Incidentally, Reese, you could probably shed a little light on this. BYU and Utah State, of course, battle for the Beehive boot, but there's this wagon wheel trophy that the Aggies and Cougars play for. Nobody ever really talks about this. In fact, I hadn't even really heard that much about it before, but apparently there's a little wagon wheel trophy. Are you familiar with this thing?
It predates the Beehive boot. It's a long-standing trophy that the Aggies dominated early, and then BYU's won it so many times lately that it's one of those things that just, is kind of overshadowed anymore.
Hang on while we get this penalty.
Flipping on the offense, number 80, half the distance to the goal, repeat first down.
That'll be 1st and 13 back at the 3. When Utah State won up here 58, 56, and 93, though, the next Tuesday, the Big 5 huddle where all the coaches and media come together on Tuesdays, they brought the wheel down. BYU brought it and gave it to Utah State at that. And it hadn't been seen in a while, but...
1st and 13. Sark looking to throw. And no go there.
Lewis thinks he was held up that time, right across the middle. He did get a call earlier in the game that kept a drive alive. Hudson was covering him, but no flag this time. It'll just be singing in.
There was no ref anywhere near that could have seen it. If he was held up, before he made his cut, because by the time he was breaking into the open, he was alone, but the ball was well ahead of him.
See a replay here, see if the ball gets there. We can still see Lewis. He's already complaining whatever happened before.
Right.
Now, Reese, it looks, look at the flag at the top of the stadium, that the wind is swirling and now it's blowing across the field. What's it doing down on the playing field?
Okay, well, look at the other end. Look at the goalpost at the north end. It's actually blowing the opposite direction. It's swirling down here.
2nd and 13. Sarkisian, the pass is tipped, but it's caught. K.O.K. Lalui, and he's got a first down all the way out to the 21-yard line.
And the BYU coaches are working the refs on the sideline. They are furious about something that happened back in the secondary right now. Sarkisian, boy, that ball did get tipped. Nice concentration, though, by K.O. And Utah State had him backed up. They had a chance to get the ball there on the BYU side of the field. And the defense let him out of the hole a little bit there.
Steve Sarkisian moving around, getting some room, buying himself some time.
The ball was tipped early enough that KO was able to adjust.
1st and 10. Cougars on the move, leading 24-7 here. 12:49 to go, 3rd quarter. Atuaya will try the right side, pick up about 3 yards. Utah State looking for a sweep of BYU and Utah. They got to get going if they want to do that, and they haven't done that, Reese, since 1974. Phil Kruger was the coach back then, if you recall that. 9-6 was the score that they beat BYU that year.
Yeah, Lavelle just starting to get his program going in those days.
And they've done it 12 times, including that one. Swept. Yeah, I did a lot of research on that today.
The Aggies were an independent team back then. They didn't have to worry about conference games, and this was their bowl game, BYU.
Oh, Oh, Sarkisian got rid of that ball just as he was nailed by Dwayne Nelson. Just popped from behind. Nelson helps him up. Kayla Louie makes a fine catch, but Sark stood in there, and boy, he took a hit. He's got to be a tough kid.
He didn't see that when he got it straight from behind, but it was a good, clean hit. No harm, no foul on Sarkisian.
The Aggie coach has said the only way to handle Sarkisian, because he is so good, he is so smart, he makes so many great decisions real quickly, you got to show him a little bit of everything. Bring the backer one time, bring a safety another time, 4-man rush, zone one time, man the other time. You have to just consistently mix it up against him, because if you give him too much of anything, he's just going to cut you up.
1st and 10. And Sarkisian's pass is complete to Cahoon, and now Cougars starting to go a little bit to the bench is Ben Cahoon, 5'9", 180-pound junior. Played his high school ball at Mountain View, gets into the ball game.
Well, they're also starting to go right down the field. I mean, they were backed up at their own 3-yard line after a penalty, and Cahoon's going to get the ball out across midfield.
John L. Smith started out this season 2-0 after his victory over Utah. Then another win here at home
against Cal State Northridge.
But he has struggled with this football team with a very tough schedule. And we talked about that after the Utah game, the battle that they were about to face. Cougars back to the ground game. Brian McKenzie.
Actually, a little roar from the crowd there, but no flags there at the end of that play. We talked actually about the schedule in the preseason. We came up and talked to John L. about it. You know, and his famous quote, which he repeated over and over in the preseason, was, "I don't want to talk about the schedule anymore." At which point he would begin to, talk about the schedule a little more.
Right.
But really, they're going to be 2-4 if they lose this game to the Cougars. But a lot of people, including you and me, thought they had a very good shot at being 1-5.
1-5, right?
And they're at 2-4. They got 5 straight Big West games coming up now, so they got a chance. In that league, it's going to come down to the game with Nevada probably. I think the Utah State-Nevada game will decide the Big West champ. They have a very good shot at 6-4, maybe, or 6-5, maybe even 7-4.
And you know what? You take care of business in the Big West, and you're going to a bowl game. Steve Sarkisian has certainly spread out the workload tonight, throwing to 8 different receivers. A couple tight ends, a couple of wide receivers, a couple of running backs. He's spread it out evenly. Right now the Cougars have a 2nd down and 4, and they are moving. And Sarkisian, he was looking at his tight end. Lewis is covered. Now he breaks free, makes the catch, and Wagner drills him, but Lewis hops right back up.
Most importantly, Lewis got the 1st down at the 35-yard line. And Sarkisian, was he working in the pocket?
Man.
He never left it, but just kept finding a little bit of room, not giving anybody an angle for a shot, staying in, stepping up, and then boom, 1st down to Lewis. Now, Lewis takes this pop, but watch him pop up at the end of it. Get right up. I'm not staying down. He did. He popped right up. Yeah, it was a big hit, big deal. I'm fine.
1st and 10. Cougars moving. Inside handoff to Johnson. And Johnson will get a couple as the Aggies converge. But as has been the case for the last 20 years or so, that run simply sets up a pass.
Wait a minute, David. You were going too fast. I couldn't write that down.
You want me to slow that down for you?
Yeah, this is
Speaking of which, let's go with the Ford Power run on this one. Take it away.
And McKenzie put that little helmet on helmet right there. Johnson.
2nd down and 8.
Oh, now they have to pass. I have to listen to you all the way home.
Sarkisian, I told you. Oh, intercepted. Pass is intercepted. And it is Craig Miller, his first interception of the season, the sophomore from Bakersfield. And the Aggies get a turnover, something they haven't seen in a while. And let's call that our icon defensive play.
Sarkisian only throwing 5 picks all year. This is number 6. And you Utah State, you know, we always at halftime, here's a second look at it, we always at halftime show you the turnovers, but the important stat is points off of turnovers.
Right, now we find out.
Two turnovers, 2 takeaways for BYU have led to 7 Cougar points. This is the first one for the Aggies. We'll see what they do.
Sarkisian going deep. Excuse me, it's a sock. Complete. What a great pass.
What a great call.
And a great call. When you make one big play, you try to come right back, ride that momentum, make another big play, and now they've got the students up on their feet going nuts, and they got the offensive pumped up.
53 yards, and you know, this is a bomb, but he doesn't float it up there like, you know, most bombs. You remember the pass he had against Oklahoma State that was about a 50-yarder, and it was on a dime. I mean, this kid, as Reese pointed out, he's right down there close, you can see him. He's got an incredibly strong arm, and he just let that one rip all the way down to the 28-yard line. Aggies on the move. They go to Abu Wilson. Nothing doing. He'll lose a yard. That Cougar defensive line just stacks him up. What a pass.
The first score out of the locker room is so important, especially when it's 24-7. I mean, it is such a big swing. Abu, 16 carries for 53 yards. It was actually a huge 10-point swing right before the half that really hurt the Aggies. They had a chance to score a touchdown, didn't, and BYU with a tremendous 2-minute drill went right down and got 3 points. But the first score out of the locker room crucial with the Aggies already down by 17.
Second 12, Sock will throw. Ooh, dangerous pass. Almost intercepted, intended for Aaron Frazier, but Omar Morgan, a terrific defensive back for the Cougars on the coverage.
Get Sock's view of it one more time, and he almost picked that up off the top of the grass.
And Matt Sock again looking all the way in the direction of Aaron Frazier.
And Frazier's gone off now. Smith will be in the slot.
And it's a 3rd down and 12. Aggies trying to capitalize on the turnover, trailing 24-7. And Sock in trouble, has to unload, and it's caught. But there's a flag down. This may be coming back, but Nakia Jenkins has it down to the 10-yard line. And this looks like an offside, illegal motion, one of those type of penalties.
There's something right along the line of scrimmage because the flag went down right at the snap.
Well, and Steve Smith just threw his arms in there.
After the snap, the flag's already down. Here comes Shea Muirbrook up the middle, drilling Sock just after he lets it go.
And it's coming back.
And this is just what John L. Smith was talking about talking with Reese about at halftime. It's 3rd and 12. They convert for the first down, and it's wiped out by an illegal procedure.
We didn't talk. We were talking to Lavelle going into halftime.
Illegal formation on the offense. 76 lining up in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
Well, simple mistake. You got to line up on the line of scrimmage. You got to have 7 guys up there. That's all there is to it. Going into halftime, the radio broadcaster here on the sideline for the USU network was interviewing John L. Smith, and he tried to stay calm, and he just exploded. He just screamed into the microphone, "We are such an undisciplined team." He's just really frustrated because he knows that without the turnovers, without the stupid penalties, it's his game tonight.
Well, they need a bundle now. 3rd and 17. Sock going for it all. And he's going to overthrow Steve Smith and everyone else, and the Aggies are going to have to give the ball back.
Well, they're at the 35-yard line, so it's either the 52-yard field goal, and that looks like what they're going to go for. Now, the thing is, he's already kicked 2 47-yarders this year. He's got the 2 longest field goals in the Big West Conference this year.
And the wind
is swirling all over the place. Now, the flags that he's kicking towards are up high. Say the wind's blowing across the field. What has he got right now on the field, Reese?
It's slightly across from east to west. Blowing from his left.
52-yard field goal attempt from Micah Knorr. Oh, it's going to be close. It's short. Well, the Aggies got that turnover, but as you pointed out, it doesn't mean a thing if you can't capitalize on it. And the Cougars will take over, preserving their 24-7 lead when we come back.
Killed the drive.
Right now, Patrick Mullins has a 3rd and 11. Mullins can run for this one. He's got it. And wisely slides at the 40-yard line. A little help from the block from Turner and a first down. So here we are talking about how Salk's the guy that's mobile, and Mullins comes in right off the bat. He runs for a big first down.
Well, as mobile as Salk is in the pocket, he doesn't run. He'll get free, and when it looks like he might be able to run for big yardage, he'll throw anyway.
Yeah, like a 50-yard bomb.
But there is nobody in the middle of the field.
Yep. So 1st and 10 for the Aggies. Patrick Mullins in at quarterback, and he'll give to the youngster, the freshman, Demario Brown.
To say the wind is swirling in this stadium, but we just had liftoff here in the press box. I hope you didn't need that, Dave.
No,
that just
we had
blew.
a piece of paper flew out of the press box, and it went straight up.
It went straight up, and it was just sitting here, and it just boom, gone.
Well, the flags on the goalposts are blowing one way, and it's hit me from the other, so I don't know what to tell you. It's blowing to the Aggies' back right now on the field.
2nd and 8, complete outside to Sean Turner. It's going to be 3 yards shy of a first down. Ben Cook is on coverage. So the Aggies with a 3rd and 3.
Nice open field tackle there. They just keep putting pressure. And you see both teams actually running similar patterns like this. You just throw it out there short and see if the guy can make a tackle, because if not, well, you can see how much grass is down there. One missed tackle, bye-bye.
Patrick Mullins needs to get the Aggies 3 yards to keep the drive alive. Clock is moving with 4.5 to go here in the 3rd quarter. Cougars leading this game 24-7. And here they come. Quick shot pass inside to Brown. He dies, but not nearly enough for the first. He's about 2 yards shy.
Late flag coming into the defensive backfield. A late flag down at the 25-yard line. It has nothing to do with the play. There's the shovel pass. Brown outran his blockers a little bit trying to get outside there. But what is the penalty? Because the thing is, this was personal foul
against the Aggies.
And this was 4-down territory. They could have gone for it on 4th and 2 at the 34. But now it's going to be 4th and 17. They're going to have to punt. And the thing is, they've had a lot of success punting the ball and pinning BYU deep. They've done it a couple times, but they can't keep it.
Personal foul, number 4 on the offense. 15-yard penalty.
Wow.
See, now John L. Smith was talking about the lack of discipline, and Reese, you said he was screaming it before he went into the locker room and in the radio interview, and then in your TV interview, he was talking about it. The thing is, right now, they're so beat up, they're so banged up. He doesn't have a lot of bodies, he doesn't have a lot of options. But you know, next year when he gets another recruiting class in, he has a little more depth, he will have options, and kids are not going to have a chance to make these sloppy, undisciplined mistakes twice.
That's right.
You can count on his Idaho teams weren't like that. You don't get to the playoffs year after year after year by making those kind of silly, ridiculous mistakes.
It's got to be driving him crazy, because he knows exactly, the kids know exactly what they've got to do and what they're doing wrong, and they keep doing it.
Well, twice here they've stopped the Cougars and come up with the football, and then just ridiculous penalties have thwarted their drive. So BYU hanging tough at the same time, holding on to that 24-7 lead. Cougars had to take a timeout there. Oddly enough, 4 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter, and BYU's down to their last timeout.
That is a little odd, but I don't think Lavelle's in a position where he's going to need a lot of timeouts at the end of the game right now for a 2-minute drive. But at the same time, it's not a habit you want to get into. Kind of an odd game. Most of the scoring happened in the 2nd quarter. It was 3-0 at the end of 1. It was 24-7 at the half. It's still 24-7 now. But 15 minutes there in the 2nd quarter, nobody could stop anything.
You know, the Aggies this year have given up more points in the 2nd quarter than any other in all of their football games this year. That seems to be one of their problem spots. Right now, it's James Dye standing at the 15-yard line, awaiting Nathan Moriali's punt.
This is into the wind.
Dye fair catch, and then he hopped for an extra yard.
I think he was thinking about it. I mean, he just
They gave it to him.
Yeah, he did get that extra.
He got the extra
stutter step, but I think he was second-guessing himself for fair catching it. That maybe had a little seam. Maybe he could have tried to return it, but down deep in that area. Yeah, that's what he's saying right now on the sideline. Oh, I should have gone. There was a seam. I could have gotten through that.
Well, he got him an extra yard. 35-yard kick. BYU will take over now at the 14-yard line. Now, the last two drives have been halted, one by a fumble, the other by an interception. We'll see what the Cougars can do now.
But it's 2 turnovers apiece, but BYU has 7 points off turnovers. Utah State has gotten no points off the 2 takeaways.
Sarkisian firing downfield, and it is complete to Kaipo McGuire. He's got a first down plus a few more, and it took a few guys to bring him down. Dwayne Nelson and Mike Hudson there.
What a nice job of keeping his balance. Looked like he did slip. Looked like he was going down. He kept his balance. Got another 4 or 5 out of it.
Sarkisian turns around with a guy in his face right away, but fakes like he's going to run outside, then stops, pulls up, and completes the pass. Kaipo somehow staying on his feet. I thought he was almost down there, but it was clear on the replay. That was a good non-call by the ref. Let the play keep going.
3.5 to play, third quarter. Back to the ground game again. Brian McKenzie. And he is just dragging David Gill, who's hanging on with the unwrapped hand, and drags him up about 2 yards shy of yet another first down. John Dale Carty there to finish him off.
This is a young backfield for BYU. McKenzie is a junior. Jenkins and Johnson, who played a lot. Oh, Johnson's a junior also. Jenkins is just a freshman. This is a backfield that's going to be pretty much intact next year. Obviously, they're going to lose Atuaya, who is a senior, who's gotten some carries tonight. And obviously, they have a new quarterback. But the running game could be in pretty good shape next year. The line is young in several spots.
They do have 2 other Atuayas, but they're both running backs. McKenzie around the right side. He's got another first down. Just pounding away on the ground on this drive.
Along the offensive line next year, they're going to lose Larry Moore, their center, and James Johnson, who's at left guard, 2 seniors. But they'll have 3 of the 5 linemen back, and they'll have 3 experienced running backs back, which will help when they're trying to break in a new quarterback next year.
And one of the linemen is 315 pounds, 6'7" Eric Bateman. We've got a Cougar down.
That is Eric Bateman on the ground.
Big Eric is a sophomore. That is a load.
Man. I'm afraid those trainers might hurt their back pulling him up. Oh.
George Curtis helping him off there.
Yeah, but he's not going all the way over the bench, and that's a good sign.
Yeah.
He's rubbing his knee. He may have just banged knees with somebody out there. He's not letting the trainers look at it, and he's not going over to the bench to sit down.
The trainer trying to convince him to. There's 3 trainers talking to him right now, right in front of him.
First down and 10 back on the football field for BYU. And Sarkisian. Quick pass. He had to get rid of that one. McGuire can't hang on to it, but the Aggies were bearing down.
Sarkisian's done a good job all night. When he sees the blitz coming, he audibilizes, he goes back into the shotgun to give him a little more time. That time he didn't, and threw way short. Hurried it a little.
That was a good move there not to throw him down. If you don't get him down right away, you're just begging for another penalty. And I don't think you want to get on John L's side, on John L's bad side right now. He's seen plenty of yellow tonight.
Sark up top again. Looking deep. Again, just barely overthrows K.O. Kealalui. They've seen a few of those tonight.
You know, we've seen a few different blitzes. We've seen them get pressure on Sarkisian, but when they come with the 4-man rush, they're not always getting it. And that time, that was just a pure 4-man rush there, and he had plenty of time to go deep.
There's the numbers on Steve Sarkisian. Good evening so far, and a 3rd and long, and it's always an adventure to watch the Aggies defend a 3rd and long.
No touchdown passes tonight for the Cougars. Yeah. They got 1 on the ground, and they got 1 from their defense, and they got 3 field goals and a 2-point conversion.
Right now, they need to get to midfield for a first. Here comes the blitz. It's picked up. Sarkisian's pass. Diving catch at the 40-yard line by Atula Mealy.
Gill was coming right up the middle, and he got picked up and gave Sarkisian time to throw. Here comes Gill. He's 44, and boom! Atuwaya hits him, stops him cold, and Sarkisian's got time. And look at the touch, just over the defensive back, and a great catch by Mealy.
20-yard pickup.
So
how often do you see tight ends going airborne like that? I mean, come on. I've never seen Keith Jackson do that.
He's big, he's fast, he hurls guys, and he's got great hands, and he can make the diving catch.
Incredible.
Other than that, what does he bring to the team?
That's right.
A lot of NFL scouts. That's what it brings.
Buchanan inside.
Ball loose.
Aggies got it again.
3 straight Cougar turnovers. And at some point, the Aggies have got to score here off one of these. Well, the thing is, they've gotten them all they've pretty much ended scoring drives. They haven't gotten any cheap short drives, although this isn't bad field position here. We'll see why the ball came loose here.
Sean Hansen, a freshman, will recover it.
Well, that is 2 fumbles and an interception for the Cougars here in the second half. That's 3 turnovers in 1 quarter.
Mullins is your quarterback.
You know, it's interesting. Last week, both of these teams scored all of their points in the first half of the ball games that they each played in. So far, that's happened here. And as you say, Reese Mullins still in now at quarterback, and he's trying to scramble out of trouble. Buy some time. You know, I think he was
over the line of scrimmage
by about 2 yards.
He was over the line, and the umpire didn't catch it until he started looking for the yard marker. Those flags came out real late. It's a good call because he was a good 1.5 yards over the line of scrimmage. Oh, yeah. But until he looked for the yard marker, the ump didn't reach for the flag. The line of scrimmage was the 37.
Yeah, he threw that at about the 40, or close to it. Nice pickup, though.
But another costly mistake.
He clearly would have been better off just tuck the thing up and run it. In fact, he got a little bit of room.
Yardage out of it.
From the spot of the pass, so it's going to bring up should be a second and about 14. So Patrick Mullins showing a little mobility. I guess he's tired of hearing how Matt Sock is the mobile quarterback. They'll go to the ground game. Brown tries to get out of the tackle. It's so tough to run on this front line tonight. BYU's defensive line has been playing very well in this game. That'll bring up 3rd down and 14. And again, another big 3rd down that the Aggies need to convert. By the way, I'm not sure what this means, but
behind the BYU bench,
Paul Shoemaker is warming up right now, the backup quarterback.
I'm looking for Sarkisian on the sideline, see if he's okay or if a trainer's working on him.
Aggies have to take a timeout, and the offensive coordinator, Coach Petrino, is not happy. Paul Shoemaker, the backup quarterback. It's tough being a backup quarterback in Provo. They don't get a lot of time.
He may just be bored because I just found Sarkisian. Yeah. He's at midfield walking around with his helmet in his hand. He looks fine.
Well, Shoemaker, I was going to say, was warming up for a moment, then just waltzed over with the guy he was tossing with, and they're standing in the corner. There's no coaches near him. There are no players with him. Nobody really wants to have anything to do with him. I think you're right. They were bored.
They were bored. Sarkisian's just waiting to get back out there. And he may. This is 3rd and 14 here for the Aggies.
Nice crowd on hand here in Logan. In fact,
better than nice. This is something else.
Fantastic crowd. And for the most part, the Cougars have kept them somewhat quiet, although there's a good contingent of Cougar fans, but you really can't tell.
You know, TV guys, we always have to make the argument, no, we don't hurt attendance when you televise a home game. No. And you know what? Here's a good example.
Not in this
Local
case.
TV, 33,000 here. Stadium record.
Hey, you just can't. You can tell there's a lot of Cougar fans because of the cheering, but you're not sure where they are. There's a lot of blue out there. Flag is down. Mullins just desperately tries to get rid of that pass, but there's a flag down. This one,
It's over on the near sideline, but it was thrown well after the snap.
well, there's a flag on each sideline now. Something along the line. The Cougar sideline is signaling to decline, so they think it's against the Aggies, and the Cougars are clapping, and apparently that's the case. So once again, the Aggies are moving back. Oh, man. What a frustrating third quarter for John L. Smith.
Legal formation on the offense. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
11 penalties, 81 yards for the Aggies, and that does not count the ones that have been declined. And it also doesn't count some of the yardage that's been wiped out on big gainers. They converted a 3rd and 12 for a first down to keep a potential scoring drive alive deep in BYU territory, and it got wiped out by a penalty.
James Dye up near his 30-yard line. Another low snap. L'Oreale gets it away. He's been a wonder back there with these snaps. And Dye has it at the 20. Here he goes. James Dye. James Dye's first touchdown of the season on special teams, and he goes 79 yards.
And that first guy misses the tackle, and he's the only guy who touches him. And a flag is going to go down right at the goal line, possibly for that high stepping right there.
Oh, come on, let him do that.
Although also some guys came off the bench. Sarkeesian, who was just in midfield, got down in the end zone to help in the celebration, so there's no telling exactly why that flag went down. But there's some second half points, Dave.
You know, I hope that is not for the high step, because I love that.
That's an interesting concept. Rewriting the rule book based on what entertains you. I'll look into that.
Excuse me, you know what? This is entertainment. And when you can't celebrate, look at James. He might have pulled something on the high step. Oh, James Dye, I know he's happy about that.
Well, BYU's racking up the points tonight, but you know, they're not throwing touchdown passes. It's not the way you expect to see the Cougars score. They got a defensive touchdown. They got a special teams touchdown. They have not thrown one. They ran for a touchdown, and they got 3 field goals on the 2-point conversion.
When was the last time they didn't throw a touchdown pass in a game?
You say it like you know, Reese.
I don't, but it's been a while.
You know, they had a streak going, and I think it got snapped about 2 years ago. Didn't a string of consecutive games of a touchdown pass get snapped? And it might have been the UCLA game. I think they lost a UCLA game when they had 3 field goals. That's what's coming to mind, although off the top of my head, I can't quite get it. And I'm looking around the booth. There's like 6 people here who are no help at all right now. The excessive celebration penalty that Dave did not enjoy is going to force the Cougars to kick off from the 20.
Oh, that'll move him clear back to the 20-yard line. Cellular technology kickoff as BYU moves out to a 31-7 lead now after James Dye goes 79 yards to help spark his team get a little something going here in the third quarter. We only have 8 seconds left to go here in the third. So we could move on into the fourth period after this kick, which may go out of bounds. And it does. They're going to be kicking from the goal line pretty soon. So no time taken off the clock. And
Dave, I just talked to James Dye on the bench. He's a pretty happy guy right now. He got a phone call down here from the press box just before he went out to return that kick, and I asked him, what did they say? They gave him some tips on how the Aggies were covering. He said, no, they just said get out there and play. So I guess they wanted to do something in front of his old fans.
Well, I know he's particularly excited to do that in the stadium and against the team that he played for a short time. And with that kick going out of bounds,
first down from the 50-yard line.
The Aggies will get it at midfield. So a little bit of a break for Utah State, and this should be the last play of the third quarter. This one over everybody's head. Sean Turner was the intended receiver.
Ralph Zobel, the BYU Sports Information Director, was talking about the touchdown, the string of games with consecutive touchdown passes. He says it got to 118 games and that it was snapped at Colorado State in Fort Collins 3 years ago. And that was the long touchdown pass streak that everyone remembers. And since then, they may have had another game. It seems to me it might have been a UCLA game in Provo a year. I think they lost 23-9. I think they kicked field goals in that one and didn't get a touchdown pass.
This will be the last play of the third quarter. Penalty, pass is complete. Steve Smith. Smith runs into his blocker and finally runs out of bounds near the 20-yard line, and that will bring the third quarter to a close. But not before BYU manages to put another touchdown on the board thanks to a 79-yard punt return from James Dye. We'll come back with the final period from Romney Stadium after this. Dye seems to be just a tad quicker, faster than Bicycahim.
Well, that'll save you a little Christmas card action there.
Oh, yeah. I was waiting for that one. Pass is complete out the flat. Interesting note here. Now we move into the fourth quarter. BYU has not allowed a touchdown in the fourth quarter this entire season yet.
You may notice there's a man missing on the field, Dave. The trainers, the BYU trainers, are working on the line judge on the sideline. He popped something in his left ankle. They're taping it up. He's going to get back in, but they're going with a six-man crew right now.
Well, that's interesting. Let's see, going with substitute officials.
They don't do substitute officials. They just go with a six-man crew, and they just pick up.
And where they're missing, where the spot they're leaving open, there's usually one man who is deep in the defensive backfield, about 20 yards off the line of scrimmage. They have no one there now, although there are two guys on the sidelines. There's just not one guy in the middle of the field, a guy who's usually behind the umpire about 15 yards.
So the lesson here is that if you're going to commit a penalty, do it in that area.
Shoemaker's warming up again. I'm going to get out of the way here. He's going to hit me in the head.
Then they'll be working on you.
Yeah.
Third down and 4. Aggies trying to get into the end zone. Patrick Mullins now at quarterback. Mullins scrambles out of trouble. And the pass is low. Will they know?
Late hit. It's going to be a late hit. Mullins got thrown to the ground, and it's Shane Muirbrook who got penalized earlier.
You love it when you see after a penalty a player standing there with both arms in the air, kind of swinging his head like, me?
But once you get a lot of penalties, sometimes the ref will call it even a little closer, but no, clearly the ball's away. He took a couple extra steps and threw him down.
Yeah, that's got to be just something that's irresistible, though, when you're charging a guy like that.
You got a chance to spike the quarterback on his noggin.
Passer. First down, automatic first down, number 46. After this is the goal.
Well, Muirbrook has the 2 penalties, but he's also got a touchdown.
Yeah, that makes it a little easier.
Well, let's talk to Shea after films and see. That's going to be first and goal at the 7 now.
Did I mention that BYU hasn't allowed a touchdown in the fourth quarter yet this season? Moving all over the place.
You know, I just can't help it when something like that happens. I turn and find John sideline. And right now, he's turned around, he's walked away, and he's looking up in the stands.
Yeah, you feel so bad for him. We all know John L. pretty well. He's a great guy. The media really enjoys this guy, and you really want him to succeed. He's such a good man, but he has been so frustrated this year.
Well, and he talked to him a couple days ago. He talked about the lack of depth and length, and I know he just doesn't have a lot of options. He can't make a lot of substitutions now. He can tell the guys, he can show them films.
Dead ball, false start, number 86, 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
But you know, next year, he's going to yank him out of a game, and they might not get back in.
Just a side note from the sidelines, the line judge is heading for the locker room.
Reese, put on a shirt. Get on out there.
A yellow flag.
Brown manages, he manages to pick up 4 yards after Chris Ellison had hit him. So good running there.
Cuts it back inside, boom, gets hit, but keeps the legs going, spins around, falls towards the goal line. He's going to be the man next year. He's getting a lot of action as a freshman. Abu Wilson graduates.
You know, you talked about next year guys being pulled out and not getting back in. He's come close to that in some cases this year. And when it can happen to a guy like Abu Wilson after a couple of fumbles, it can happen to anyone. And there goes Patrick Mullins.
But running back is one. Running back and quarterback are a couple of the few positions where they've got real depth right now.
Yeah, oddly enough.
Even wide receiver, okay, they got 4 guys they use a lot, but they're in a 3-receiver set so often. You need one sub. I mean, those guys are running sprint after sprint after sprint.
Brad Martin with the sack. Bringing up 3rd down, and Cougars trying to keep the Aggies out of the end zone and keep that 4th quarter touchdown drought alive for the defense. He appeared to be there. They had to get into the end zone. Tim McTire on coverage.
You know, 31-7 sounds like a lopsided game, but this is twice there's been an open receiver in the end zone, and the ball's coming, and you just got to get a touchdown. I mean, you got to.
Oh, he's right there. He knows he should have had it. Boy, it's very reminiscent, very similar to a play we saw in the state football championship last year. Almost the same pattern and everything.
John L's going to go to the locker room and say, we had 2 receivers open in the end zone. We gave up a defensive touchdown and a special teams touchdown. We could have, we would have, we should have.
And the field goal is good. So the Aggies get something. And BYU still holds on to a 21-point 4th quarter lead in Logan. The red cap is not wearing a red cap. Yeah, that's too bad. They've all been that way, though. Man, that's got to frustrate you. Just going to play football. I know. Okay. Reese, you have something you can do down there? I need to throw down to you Chuck-a-Rama style. Why don't you grab Rondo Feldberg and interview him?
I lost my line, Judge.
Yeah. Where's he going to be? Hey, the satellite truck is gone. Could they have been feeding highlights? Oh, is that it? Yeah, you're right. 7-10 our score here. 12-13 to play in the fourth quarter. The Aggies get a field goal. And the cellular technology kickoff is away. And this one won't be returned. BYU will take over the 20-yard line. And in the second half, the Cougars have held in their tough defense primarily because the offense has given up the ball a couple of times. The Aggies have been able to come up with a few turnovers. However, the defense has kept the Aggies from capitalizing on those, which can be frustrating when you're the head coach. First and 10, Steve Sarkisian still at quarterback. Keep it on the ground, line up. Lonnie Jenkins. Sarkisian beat Texas A&M with a sensational game, which is actually the best game he's had of the year so far. We had him in the den with Gifford Nielsen, another fine BYU quarterback. What a delight, though, Sarkisian is to sit down and talk to. Great young man, very sharp.
Pretty low-key. You wouldn't know just walking up and talk to him that, you know, oh, by the way, you know, you're on the edge of the Heisman race. Oh, you're the quarterback of a nationally ranked football team.
Well, he's not going to be your Mike Lewis type. Chad's brother, who ripped a poster of Ty Detmer off the wall several years ago as Atula Mealy makes a catch over the middle. Just prior to the BYU-Utah game. I'll never forget, Bill Marcroft actually was hosting the Den that night. And Mike Lewis, a very fiery guy, as you look at the replay here on this tight end, came in and just went crazy. Grabbed the Ty Detmer poster. This is the year he's going for the Heisman. Rips it off the wall. Declares the Utes are going to spank him. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the score that year was 82 to a lot to yeah. A great moment in the history of the Den. Oh boy. Sarkisian's pass inside to Dye. And James. Looks like somebody grabbed the face mask. They get it? Trying to get the ball. The ball came out of the pile. Now there's a face mask in there somewhere.
Dye is not really happy the way he was treated. The leg is down.
We should mention not all the Lewis family. I mean, there are a lot of athletic families that have been split, with some kids going to the Y and some going to the U.
Well, and Mike, of course, a Ute guy, and Chad, a Y guy. They both went to Orem High School. As we look at the Dye once again, I mentioned earlier in the game that Chad was a great high jumper. And I was talking to him before he went on. He went and served in LDS Church Mission. Before he went, this guy was like, I mean, he's as tall as he is now, which is about 6'6". He'd be about 6'5". I don't think he was 200 pounds. I mean, soaking wet.
Well, he was a high jumper.
Yeah, and now he's 250.
And he just hurt
And he can still, I'll tell you what, you don't want him to come down on you, though, if he misses the hurdle. First and 10 at the 45-yard line. And back to the ground. Johnson, good yardage, up to within a yard of another first.
We should clear up a little trivia we were sharing earlier in the game, because BYU is not throwing a touchdown pass tonight. And Ralph Zobel, the BYU Sports Information Director, looked it up. It was a 53-game scoring streak with 53 consecutive games with a touchdown pass that ended at Colorado State in 1993.
Way to go, Ralph!
Got to keep that Cougar trivia straight. Don't kid yourself. That's a great recruiting tool. Yeah, we throw pretty often. You'd be interested in playing for us.
Long string of great quarterbacks come out of BYU, and Jenkins going around the right side. Gets a great seam, and Ronnie Jenkins all the way down inside the 20-yard line. And did he read just a crack in the defense and enough to spring him?
Ronnie Jenkins is something else.
I can't remember running backs like Jenkins and McKenzie with that great explosive outside speed at BYU.
Well, he had a chance to go to USC, UCLA, Nebraska, Colorado, Washington. They all wanted him. Coach Norm Chow told us really it was a chance for him to come play somewhere that was a little quieter, a little off the beaten path. Of course, you remember the game he had last year in high school. He made national news when he ran for 619 yards in one game.
point is good, and BYU is leading by 28 points. Could shut that one. That might help the cross breeze. You won't be able to shut it tight, but just put something up against it. Okay, Reese, I'm coming down to you. Talk about how... Oh, brother. All right, kick off, then I'll throw down to Reese, and we'll talk about how taken out of the Aggies or something. Hey, get a shot of the throng leaving. Look at them over there, the standing room only crowd. They're out of here.
Want to be involved in Aggie athletics.
10. The Cougars have unloaded in this second half as they lead Utah State. And the cellular technology kickoff coming your way. This one will be returned. Brown fumbles it. And it is wrapped up by Steve Smith. The Aggies will take it on the 12-yard line. And boy, what do you do now? 38-10. You just try to stay healthy. You got league play coming up for BYU. Life's good. It's a chance to work in some other players.
Mullins is going to stay in at quarterback for Utah State as they come out with no huddle. They call the play on the sideline so the defense doesn't get a good look at what kind of personnel is on the field.
Oh, look at Abu Wilson. Wrapped up immediately. Nowhere to go.
Turns out it doesn't matter. The defense doesn't really need to know what personnel's on the field.
Darren Yancey, sophomore, Blackfoot, Idaho, wraps him up in the icon defensive play. He was in the backfield quickly. I would say there wasn't much of a block on young Darren. Second and 13. Mullins going to dump this one off to Abu Wilson. And he won't even get back to the original line of scrimmage. And now the defense, he'll pick up a couple of yards. And the defense really starting to tighten up.
Some of the fans are starting to drift out of here, but some of them are going to stay because some of them came quite a ways. We did the sportscast during the 6 o'clock news from the grandstand here, and a few people started to talk, including one BYU fan who said, "This isn't on satellite, is it?" I said, "No, Reason Microwave is only on." "Yeah, well, I'm in Montana. I was pretty sure it wouldn't be on satellite, so I drove down for it." Now, that's a hardcore fan right there. When you come from Montana, I don't think you're blowing out of here with 8:15 to go in the game. You're sticking it out.
Third down, they need 11. And Mullins will have to take a timeout. The play clock was about to run out. So with 8 minutes to go, Patrick Mullins will go to the sidelines. Talk with their offensive coordinator. Next up for BYU, they got a homecoming game against UNLV. Oddly enough, UNLV's in the WAC, but that is not a WAC game. It was previously scheduled. And that game's in Provo, and it can be brutal.
Well, you look at BYU's remaining schedule, and it's tough to tell how good Tulsa and TCU are. New teams in the WAC Ironically, they both have wins over Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's 0-3 against the WAC right now, so we're not sure what that means exactly. You got the UTEP and Rice games. Hawaii's just not very good.
No.
66-0 loss to Wyoming.
Well,
Probably pointed that out.
The toughest deal in that whole schedule is at the bottom. No
There it
question.
is. But the point is, they've got a very good chance of being 11-1 going into that game.
Oh, and you know what? Lavelle Edwards loves hearing that. He loves hearing that, but you know what? You're right.
What can you say? Here's the Utah State schedule. These are all Big West games. This is our last non-conference game. There's 6 teams in the Big West, so they're 0-0 and getting ready for the race. And the big game here is at the bottom, too. November 9th, Nevada comes in here to Romney Stadium, and a very good chance that game will be for the Big West Conference title.
And nice to finish up with 3 in a row at home. Pretty good schedule left for the Aggies.
And he gets to see his old Idaho team because they're in the Big West
right.
now. Jonas Smith was at Idaho for several years.
Owens, pass is complete or isn't? Did he trap it or did he catch it?
I think they're going to give him the catch, but the point is, it was at the 20. He ran a pattern 2 yards short of the first down marker, and now another guy is going to come over and say it was incomplete.
Sean Turner, the intended receiver.
Either way,
was there.
Either way, it was going to be 4th down. It's kind of behind his knee. Hard to tell from that angle, but they were going to be punting no matter what. It was just 10 yards of field position.
Well, the Aggies will kick it away and back to receive at the 42-yard line.
Now that Dye's got his punt return for a touchdown, he's done with the kick return duties for the night.
Kick is away at the 46-yard line. A nice return and a flag down on a late hit.
And the return man is number 86, who is not on our
Not even
rosters.
listed here.
Apparently, we're a little ways down the 2 deeps at this point.
Oh, wait. Well, you know what's going on here. It's very simple.
It's Ben
Cahoon. I'm sorry. It's
He's not on the numerical roster.
Yeah, he did get in a play, actually, in the first half. Had a pass thrown at him, yeah.
Ben's going to have to find out, as you see the late hit there as he goes into the bench, why he got left off the numerical roster.
Now the quarterback coming in is Kevin Federick, a 6'2", 185-pound freshman. So while Paul Shoemaker is listed as the backup quarterback, or Chris Bisgard listed as backup quarterback, they got so many quarterbacks in Provo, it's unbelievable. So number 7 is your quarterback. Write it down, Cougar fans.
Well, I think they're going with a younger guy who's got a chance to contribute in the future. Although Bisgard is the backup quarterback, he's a senior. And if there were an injury early in the game to Sarkisian, we might see him. But at this point, with the game pretty much decided, you're trying to get some playing time for a kid who might help you in a year and 2 years. And clearly, as a senior, Bisgard's not going to be able to do that.
Federick has thrown 1 pass this year. Shoemaker, though, will be around. Atuaya takes the left side, and a bunch of folks there trying to read it down. He ends up picking up about 6 yards before they can finally tackle him.
Stop made by number 9, Spencer
I think the string, what we're hearing in the background there is the Sarkisian's touchdown pass string has ended because he's out for the night. He hasn't thrown one tonight.
You know what? He's got a nice win.
Well, they're ranked number 21, and what'll be interesting now, a lot of the Cougar players talked about this. They get a chance to go home because they got a Friday game. They get to watch college games on Saturday. And you ask them who they're going to watch, and almost unanimously they say, well, Utah, absolutely, but also anybody who's about 5 or 6 spots in front of us in the packs.
And a chance to move up. Ryan McKenzie will keep it on the ground, pick up a couple more yards. Utes will be at UTEP tomorrow night.
That's a night game in El Paso tomorrow.
Done a few games out of that stadium at night.
Well, they're 2-2 right now. It'll be an interesting game, but their wins are over Northern Illinois. It used to be in the Big West with Utah State. And they also got another win over a team that's going to slip my mind right now, Dave.
Southern Illinois.
No. They lost to, they beat New Mexico State. There you go. They beat New Mexico State in their traditional
rivalry. 3rd down. Federick. Pass is complete. How about that? Ned Stearns. And Stearns will be stopped at the 5-yard line. So give Kevin Federick 2 for 2 on the season. That's pretty good average. As we take a look at the this play again. Let's send you down on the football field for a Chuck-a-Rama report with Reese Stein. Reese, it's chilly up here. How are you holding up down there?
It's not bad at all. We've got less wind actually down here on the field than you do up in the box. We're a little protected, especially standing next to 300-pound BYU lineman. Ned Stearns is listed on the 2-deep as the second string halfback. He's kind of been replaced at that position because BYU is just loaded, but the 6-foot freshman looking pretty good here.
He'll take the right side with Jenkins, and he'll lose a couple yards. Paul Shoemaker is a sophomore, and we saw him warming up earlier.
But actually, I think that he was warming up. You're right, but he was warming up with Kevin Federick.
Yeah.
So it was hard to tell who was warming up whom.
By the way, Dolman just came off the field there. It's nice to see another Dolman. There's actually 3 of them coming through the program here. Bryce a couple years ago, and Chris and Brandon. Second down. Federick to throw. He'll keep it. It almost looked like a busted play. He turned around. There wasn't anyone there.
Man, you hate to say this because no one should have to be compared, especially to this guy. But you see a left-handed quarterback scrambling around, pumping, waving the ball. Come on, what comes to mind? I mean, he's wearing, he's got the Y on his helmet. I mean, watch this move right here.
Boy.
When I wave the ball. Yeah. Oh, come on. Come on. Who are you visualizing?
Well, the number's close. But let's don't put that kind of pressure on the kid.
It's completely unfair. It's completely unfair. I totally admit that.
But you're right. He does look a little like, he looks a lot like Elvis Gerbach.
Exactly. Elvis, by the way, back spasms.
I know.
Didn't practice yesterday.
Out of quarterbacks in San Francisco. Who's third over there? Do we know? Pass into the end zone. Touchdown. Cougars again. Ben Cahoon. That's the first touchdown in the young career of Kevin Federick.
Well, that keeps BYU's current string of touchdown pass games intact. Even though it wasn't Sarkisian, he loses his 10-game streak as he's sitting in the fourth quarter.
And now this game really looking ugly for the Aggies as BYU pouring it on, and it's a machine, this offense right now. Good effort is good. 45-10. Who's this guy? Who is it? No, that's Dan. How are you? That's Jumbotron guy. Oh, I should call it a Jumbotron. Delta or the Huntsman Center. You look cold. That's Dan Scherer. Hey, just nod. I can't remember. You related to Shelley? Yes, sister. She your sister? Okay, whatever. I won't go there. Then we could really go. You see the camera bouncing around because it's a little breezy. That's Dan Scherer on our end zone cam. End zone cameramen, I got to tell you right now, they're tough guys because the breeze just howls right down the center of the stadium. Not that the guys on the roof aren't tough. They are as well. All right, I'm getting into trouble. Ball is fielded at the 20-yard line. Brown's got a little room. Look at him work. And Mario Brown all the way up to the 40-yard line.
That is 2 good returns tonight.
On the cellular technology
interesting thing for Utah State, an interesting thing to watch here as we progress through October and you get out of the early part of the season and you can't make those excuses that it's early, they're going to get better. At some point, the coaching stats, constant repetitions, you're killing yourself with silly mistakes. You're way better than the scoreboard shows. You're killing yourself with silly mistakes. It's going to be interesting to see if that pays off when they get into the conference season, if it's finally going to register with these guys.
Mullins passes low and incomplete. Jenkins, the intended target. You get some more numbers for us?
We got another little BYU trivia. We mentioned earlier that they had the 53 consecutive game touchdown pass streak, ended at Colorado State in 1993, and although Sarkisian only had a 10-game streak, the BYU school streak right now, 37 consecutive games with a touchdown pass for BYU now, 37. And Sarkisian, 310 yards passing, 24 of 37, 1 interception for the night.
That's a nice one. Mullins lobbing this one downfield. Oh, what a catch. Flag is down, but what a great catch. And it's going to be spotted at the 32-yard line.
Well, there was some pushing and shoving at the end of this run, but who's it going to be on?
By the way, Waka Demuni caught the ball, and he had a brother. Is it Zach Demuni that played for BYU a few years back?
That was a beautiful catch.
So Demuni with the reception, and here comes the call.
Holding on defense number 49. Penalty is declined. First down.
Sampson gets there. We were talking about the big games in the WAC tomorrow. There's a big game between the Big West and the WAC tomorrow. It's a game you used to cover, and it's a game Utah State fans should pay attention to. Nevada, who along with Utah State, kind of the preseason co-favorite to win the conference title. Nevada is at UNLV tomorrow. State bragging rights.
And those games don't ever get violent. Last year, incredible brawl. So a couple years ago. Yeah, it really is. Pass outside, and he turns it outside. Shot Turner, and Turner, touchdown.
To come.
Point after is good. BYU now leading 45-17. 3:25 to play in this ball game. And BYU has now given up a touchdown in the fourth quarter for the first time this season. But it's mop-up time. The guys get a look. They could actually go to another quarterback if they wanted.
And they may. We'll see what they do on this next position.
You know what? The funny thing is, when you're the head coach, you can do that. You can pretty much make any call you want. Donnell Smith.
Well, the first thing will be, you know, we saw this at Oklahoma State. Mike had possibly the best, I mean, just a perfect onside kick. And we may see another one here just so they can get the ball back. And BYU is expecting it. They've got 10 men up, and they do have Dye in to return this kick. He wasn't in to return the punt, but he's back, although I really don't think he's going to get the ball right now. He's at the 15. He's up about the 25. And we'll see if the Aggies onside it. The onside kick, it was beautiful. They did not recover it. It took a big hop, and a couple Aggies had a great shot at it.
Well, this cellular technology kickoff will, as you said, most likely be an onside. You can see how windy it is because there's all sorts of paper down in one of the end zones. I mean, it's like a mess.
It's like when the Jets used to play at Shea Stadium. They'd always be stuff just blowing all over the place.
And I'm not sure if Reese is aware of this, but the sideline reporter is responsible for cleaning a lot of that up.
That's a lot. I knew there were perks, but I didn't realize.
Nope, they're going to do the old pooch kick. And that won't be returned, so there you go.
That went a little deep. Ideally, with one guy back there, you like to keep that ball because that's a live ball. You can pop it up downfield and maybe go get it.
Did you see Louis getting
There's no emotion. There's no emotion. There's no tension on the field tonight. We just had a starting wide receiver in the onside scheme mixing it up with the place kicker with 3:24 left in a 4-touchdown game.
Possibly one of the toughest starting wide receivers around. Kayla Louis and Micah Knorr going at it at midfield. I didn't see Knorr back down either.
Steve Sarkisian's over here signing autographs with the kids in the front row.
All right, we now have Paul Shoemaker as Sarkisian. That's nice of him to be doing that. And Paul Shoemaker is the quarterback now, and they'll run it to the left side. And as we mentioned earlier, Sarkisian, he's a good guy. Really enjoyed talking with him. And very personable quarterback. Not all athletes are that way.
You gotta see the looks on the faces of these kids down here. I'll tell you, they're thrilled.
I bet they are.
Well, a lot of the crowd is still here. Some of them obviously to get autographs, but some of them, because they're from Montana. Although I should point out, I met the BYU fan from Montana. I met a Utah State fan who is here from San Ramon, California, which is in the Bay Area. Wow, that's a long way to go. An Aggie fan. Did he drive? Get the details on his itinerary, Jake, but I'll talk to him after the game if you'd like.
Shoemaker in at quarterback, and he's going to be handing off. There's a whole slew of new people in this ballgame right now. That was Chris Stevens. He's a freshman running back from California. And BYU just trying to run the clock out basically at this point.
Look at all the clean jerseys out there. That's scary. The BYU bench has been really relaxed the entire second half. They didn't score till right at the end of the third quarter, but they pretty much felt really confident the second half.
Chris Stevens, by the way, who carried the ball in that last play, actually has 10 carries.
Well, they get Vegas next week, and didn't you call the Vegas-Utah State game last year, Dave?
Oh, man, 42-0. That was lovely. And it could be brutal in Provo next week. Shoemaker showing some fleet feet. Paul Shoemaker all the way to the 40-yard line before he's nailed there. Sean Hansen brought him down.
Yeah, we should point out, by the way, Utah State won that last year.
Oh, yeah, did I not say that? 42-0.
Well, we just kind of assumed people knew. And
the Aggies rolled all over UNLV.
But don't take Vegas too lightly, because UNLV last week, Wyoming's unbeaten. But Vegas was leading them 21-20 in the third quarter.
That game in Vegas, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Wyoming won at 33-21.
18-yard pickup for number 19, Paul Shoemaker. He's a sophomore. You would assume the heir apparent to the starting position. You never know, though. Now they got a lot of good ones.
The quarterback derby has begun on a cold Friday night in October.
The BYU football Cougars.
I thought you were going for the frozen tundra there. I didn't.
The paper-covered tundra. Take a look at that end zone on the south side. And the wind has kicked up a lot of paper down there.
I mean, the people who are staying there are pretty hardcore, because although Reese has got it nice hiding behind offensive linemen down on the field, it's pretty cold up here now.
Yes, it is. Shoemaker on the draw. Cougars keep him on the ground.
I thought I saw a flag, but it was a bag. The bag is at the 10. The bag is at the 5.
Touch bag.
It's getting pretty windy down there, too.
It's getting late is what it is. There's some of the faithful that have stuck around to see the end of the ball game. One of the Aggie players is down. We'll check on that.
BYU BYU doesn't come up here every year, so some of them are going to stick it out. If you make the long trip, you're going to be here for a while.
Well,
next year
in fact, they play down there, and then they skip a year.
Right. They play in '97. It's scheduled for October 4, which is a Saturday. They may move that to Friday the 3rd at a later date. But and then you're right. In '98, they're not supposed to play, and then I think the series will resume in '99.
Reese Stein is down on the football field, and he had mentioned that Sarkisian was signing autographs. But you know, I keep hearing people shouting out Reese's name. I think there are a few fans in the stands that want his autograph.
What they really want to know is they know that it's the first Sunday night of every month. It's where's Reese in the den, and I think what they want is the answer.
Inside info.
They want this. Hey,
look at that, Coach Lavelle Edwards. He's even taking some time out to sign autographs for some of his adoring fans. You know what? He's smiling.
45-17.
We saw him just before the end of the first half. A very interesting shot as Coach Lavelle Edwards and his assistant coach, as you see some of the fans hanging in there. Norm Chow were chatting next to each other and really sharing a good laugh. And I don't know what it was about. It was just before the field goal was kicked, but they were chuckling, and you don't see that out of this coach very often. That is Darren Mitchell being helped off the field there.
You better have a couple blankets right now.
Boy, blanket. What are you guys going to do when we get to the high school season in November when it's really cold?
Broadcasted from an indoor broadcast booth with a heater. While you're on the
Who's
field.
going to be on the sidelines? Yeah.
Cougars will keep it on the ground again, try to run this out. Down 50 seconds to go, and BYU looking good. They have steadily improved since their one loss at Washington. Here's Chad Lewis.
Interesting to see next week with BYU going home to play UNLV. Utah State's going to go on the road. They're going to go to New Mexico State for a night game in Las Cruces. It could be cold. But we won't be in a wind-blown press box at that point. That's the key.
No, we won't.
But it'll be interesting because they haven't won on the road yet. They're 0-3, and they're going to be favored over the Aggies. But it'll be interesting to see if in the battle of the Aggies, if Utah State can get a road win, break through against New Mexico State next Saturday night. They got to go to Boise State the week after that.
It's been a lot of fun, actually, broadcasting Utah State football this year as we were able to bring you the Utah game. There's Matt Wells with the tackle. It's nice to see him get in there and do that. Able to bring you the Utah game, the BYU game. So as KO looks up into the crowd, all three of the big teams up here, Utah State, and BYU on Channel 2. And tonight, it's the Cougars night. James Dye at the 35-yard line signaling to his fans, yeah, we got a victory. Goes up, gives a big hug. Abu Wilson, as you see the head coach is there meeting. John L. Williams, before his time's done, John L. Williams, he's a running back with the Seahawks. John L. Smith, or he was anyway, who is friends, by the way, with the Seahawks head coach, Dennis Erickson. That young man's going to win a lot of football games before his career is over. Lavelle Edwards, in his 25th year, comes up with yet another win. 45-17 the final score. I know Reese Stein is down there on the football field, and James Dye is right next to him. So let's run down there now and let Reese have a chat with Dye, who picked up his first touchdown of the year on special teams. Reese?
James Dye being congratulated by Abu Wilson and some of the other members of the Utah State team that he played for. One thing I heard James Dye say was that this is my house. What did you mean?
You know, it's just I came here and I didn't expect to get a negative welcome the way I did.
And you did. They were very nice to you.
Yeah, it was some people on the sideline that was giving it to me, but that's all a part of football. You know, you keep the show up like Dion. You know, nothing deep. You know, I know they're Aggie fans and they have to give it to us. You know?
Well, how big was that kick return for you coming here in Romney Stadium?
Oh, that was really big. You know, not just for me, but for our team. I felt we needed a lift to boost us up. You know, we were kind of, you know, we were dominating, but we weren't really dominating the way BYU can.
It was 24-7 at the time. The Aggies had come close. They miss a pass near the end of the first half that would have been a touchdown that would have made it like 21-14. They had a couple of chances there in the third quarter. They had to shut down pretty much the third quarter, and that really broke it open for you.
Yeah, and see, that was what we didn't want them to feel that they could stop us. You know, one thing that we do is we play as a team. When defense is not going well, offense picks it up. When offense isn't going well, defense picks it up. And then on special teams, we try to always compensate, you know, complement our teams on each side. And that's what we try to do, let teams know that they can't stop us. If you try to drive on our offense, the defense will just come through. Special teams is always going to try to come through.
James Dye, a 70-yard punt return for a touchdown. Congratulations, BYU, the big winner tonight, Dave.
All right, Reese, thank you very much. 45-17. I'll say BYU with a big victory. We'll be back to wrap it up. Final word from Omni Stadium after this.
Seven plays, and it was quick. 2:32 off the clock.
And BYU continues to mix the run with the pass. Dustin Johnson, the feature man in the offense today.
Nevada is at UNLV tomorrow.
You know, it's
State bragging rights.
And those games don't ever get violent. Last year, incredible brawl. Or a couple years ago. Yeah, it really is. Pass outside, and he turns it outside. Sean Turner. And Turner, touchdown. Yard play, and Sean Turner just ran away.
That touchdown probably doesn't mean anything tonight, but it might in weeks to come.
Point after is good. BYU now leading 45-17. 3:25 to play in this ball game. BYU has now given up a touchdown in the fourth quarter for the first time this season, but it's mop-up time. Guys get a look. You know, they could actually go to another quarterback if they wanted.
And they may. We'll see what they do on this next possession.
You know what? The funny thing is, when you're the head coach, you can do that. You can pretty much make any call you want.
Well, the first thing will be, you know, we saw this at Oklahoma State. Mike Noy had possibly the best, I mean, just a perfect onside kick, and we may see another one here just so they can get the ball back. And BYU is expecting it. They've got 10 men up, and they do have Dye in to return this kick. He wasn't in to return the punt, but he's back, although I really don't think he's going to get the ball right now. He's at the 15. He's up about the 25. And we'll see if the Aggies onside it. The onside kick, it was beautiful. They did not recover it. It took a big hop, and a couple Aggies had a great shot at it.
Well, this cellular technology kickoff will, as you said, most likely be an onside-er. You can see how windy it is because there's all sorts of paper down in one of the end zones. I mean, it is a mess.
It's like when the Jets used to play at Shea Stadium. There'd always be stuff just blowing all over the place.
And I'm not sure if Reese is aware of this, but the sideline reporter is responsible for cleaning a lot of that up.
That's a lot. I knew there were perks, but I didn't realize.
Nope, they're going to do the old pooch kick. And that won't be returned, so there you go.
That one going a little deep. Ideally, with one guy back there, you like to keep that ball because that's a live ball. You can pop it up downfield and maybe go get it.
Did you see KOK Louis?
There's no emotion. There's no emotion. There's no tension on the field tonight. We just had a starting wide receiver on the onside scheme mixing it up with the place kicker with 3:24 left in a 4-touchdown game.
Possibly one of the toughest starting wide receivers around. Kayla Louis and Micah Noor going at it at midfield. I didn't see Noor back down either.
Steve Sarkisian's over here signing autographs with the kids in the front row.
All right, we now have Paul Shoemaker as Sarkisian. That's nice of him to be doing that. And Paul Shoemaker is the quarterback now, and they'll run to the left side. And as we mentioned earlier, Sarkisian, he's a good guy. Really enjoyed talking with him. And very personable quarterback. Not all athletes are that way.
You ought to see the looks on the faces of these kids down here. I'll tell you, that's real.
I'll bet they are.
Well, a lot of the crowd is still here. Some of them obviously to get autographs, but some of them, you know, because they're from Montana. Although I should point out, I met the BYU fan from Montana. I met a Utah State fan who is here from San Ramon, California, which is in the Bay Area. Wow, that's a long way to go. An Aggie fan.
Did he drive?
I didn't get the details on his itinerary, Jake, but I'll talk to him after the game if you'd like.
Paul Shoemaker in a quarterback, and he's going to be handing off. There's a whole slew of new people in this ball game right now. That was Chris Stevens. He's a freshman running back from California. And BYU just trying to run the clock out basically at this point.
Look at all the clean jerseys out there. That's scary. The BYU bench has been really relaxed the entire second half. They didn't score till right at the end of the third quarter, but they pretty much felt really confident this second half.
Chris Stevens, by the way, who carried the ball in that last play, actually has 10 carries.
Well, they get Vegas next week. And didn't you call the Vegas-Utah State game last year, Dave?
Oh, man, 42-0. That was lovely. And it could be brutal in Provo next week. Shoemaker showing some fleet feet. Paul Shoemaker all the way to the 40-yard line before he's nailed there. Sean Hansen brought him down.
Yeah, we should point out, by the way, Utah State won that last year.
Oh, yeah, did I not say that? 42-0.
Well, we just kind of assumed people knew. And
the Aggies rolled all over UNLV.
But don't take Vegas too lightly, because UNLV last week, Wyoming's unbeaten, but Vegas was leading them 21-20 in the third quarter.
That game in Vegas, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Wyoming won at 33-21.
18-yard pickup for number 19, Paul Shoemaker. He's a sophomore. You would assume the heir apparent to the starting position. You never know, though. Now, they got a lot of good ones.
The quarterback derby has begun on a cold Friday night in October.
The BYU football Cougars.
I thought you were going for the frozen tundra there. I didn't.
The paper-covered tundra. Take a look at that end zone on the south side. And the wind has kicked up a lot of paper down there.
I mean, the people who are staying now are pretty hardcore, because although Reese has got it nice hiding behind offensive linemen down on the field, it's pretty cold up here now.
Yes, it is. Shoemaker on the draw. Cougars keep it on the ground.
I thought I saw a flag, but it was a bag. The bag is at the 10. The bag is at the 5.
Touch bag.
It's getting pretty windy down there, too.
It's getting late is what it is. There's some of the faithful that have stuck around to see the end of the ball game. One of the Aggie players is down. We'll check on that.
Well, BYU doesn't come up here every year, so some of them are going to stick it out. If you made the long trip, you're going to be here for a while.
Well,
next year,
in fact, they play down there, and then they skip a year.
Right. They play in '97. It's scheduled for October 4, which is a Saturday. They may move that to Friday the 3rd at a later date. But and then you're right. In '98, they're not supposed to play, and then I think the series will resume in '99.
Reese Stein is down down on the football field, and he had mentioned that Sarkisian was signing autographs. But you know, I keep hearing people shouting out Reese's name. I think there are a few fans in the stands that want his autograph.
What they really want to know is they know that it's the first Sunday night of every month. It's where's Reese in the den, and I think what they want is the answer.
Inside info.
They want this. Hey,
look at that, Coach Lavelle Edwards. He's even taking some time out to sign autographs for some of his adoring fans. You know what? He's smiling.
45-17.
We saw him just before the end of the first half. A very interesting shot as Coach Lavelle Edwards and his assistant coach, as you see some of the fans hanging in there, Norm Chow were chatting next to each other and really sharing a good laugh. And I don't know what it was about. It was just before the field goal was kicked, but they were chuckling, and you don't see that out of this coach very often. That is Darren Mitchell being helped off the field there.
You better have a couple blankets right now.
Boy, Blanket, what are you guys going to do when we get to the high school season in November when it's really cold?
Broadcasted from an indoor broadcast booth with a heater.
Let's see. And
while you're on the
who's
field.
Who's going to be on the sidelines? Yeah.
Cougars will keep it on the ground again, try to run this out with 50 seconds to go, and BYU looking good. They have steadily improved since their one loss at Washington. There's Chad Lewis.
To see next week with BYU going home to play UNLV. Utah State's going to go on the road. They're going to go to New Mexico State for a night game in Las Cruces. It could be cold, but we won't be in a windblown press box at that point. That's the key.
No, we won't.
But it'll be interesting because they haven't won on the road yet. They're 0-3, and they're going to be favored over the Aggies. But it'll be interesting to see if in the battle of the Aggies, if Utah State can get a road win, break through against New Mexico State next Saturday night. They got to go to Boise State the week after that.
It's been a lot of fun actually broadcasting Utah State football this year as we were able to bring you the Utah game. There's Matt Wells with the tackle. It's nice to see him get in there and do that. Able to bring you the Utah game, the BYU game. So as KO looks up into the crowd, all three of the big teams up here, Utah State, and BYU on Channel 2. And tonight, it's the Cougars night. James Dye at the 35-yard line signaling to his fans, yeah, we got a victory. Goes up and gives a big hug to Abu Wilson as you see the head coach is there meeting. John L. Williams, before his time's done, John L. Williams, he's a running back for the Seahawks. John L. Smith, or he was anyway, who is friends, by the way, with the Seahawks head coach, Dennis Erickson. That young man's going to win a lot of football games before his career's over. Lavelle Edwards, in his 25th year, comes up with yet another win. 45-17 the final score. I know Reese Stein is down there on the football field, and James Dye is right next to him. So let's run down there now and let Reese have a chat with Dye, who picked up his first touchdown of the year on special teams. Reese?
James Dye being congratulated by Abu Wilson and some of the other members of the Utah State team that he played for. One thing I heard James Dye say was that this is my house. What did you mean?
You know, it's just I came here and I didn't expect to get a negative welcome the way I did.
And you did. They were very nice to you.
Yeah, it was some people on the sideline that was giving it to me, but that's all a part of football. You know, you keep the show up like Dion. You know, nothing deep. You know, I know they're Aggie fans and they have to give it to us.
Well, how big was that kick return for you coming here in Romney Stadium?
Oh, that was really big. You know, not just for me, but for our team. I felt we needed a lift to boost us up. You know, we were kind of, you know, we were dominating, but we weren't really dominating the way BYU can.
It was 24-7 at the time. The Aggies had come close. They miss a pass near the end of the first half that would have been a touchdown that would have made it like 21-14. They had a couple of chances there in the third quarter. They had to shut down pretty much the third quarter, and that really broke it open for you.
Yeah, and see, that was what we didn't want them to feel that they could stop us. You know, one thing that we do is we play as a team. When defense is not going well, offense picks it up. When offense isn't going well, defense picks it up. And on special teams, we try to always compensate, you know, complement our teams on either side. And that's what we try to do, let teams know that they can't stop us. If you try to drive on our offense, the defense will just come through. Special teams is always going to try to come through.
James Dye, a 70-yard punt return for a touchdown. Congratulations, BYU, the big winner tonight, Dave.
All right, Reese, thank you very much. 45-17, I'll say BYU with a big victory. We'll be back to wrap it up. Final word from Romney Stadium after this.
Utah State football is brought to you by Cellular Technology, by Chuckarama, by Bank One, by your local Ford dealer, by Icon Health and Fitness, first in fitness, and by Southwest Airlines.
Welcome back to Romney Stadium. Final score, BYU comes away with a big one, 45-17. And that's going to wrap up KU TV's football broadcast for the season of Utah State, Utah, and BYU ball games. There you go, folks. Big win for the Cougars. They move on to take on UNLV next week, and the Aggies will move into Big West play. That does it from Logan. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Victory to BYU, and we'll see you later.
Up next on this special edition of 2 News, the man accused in last night's abduction of a Roy family has been apprehended. Shauna Lake has details in a live report.
Some startling new figures released today on what's being called Utah's out-of-control crime rate. Just how safe is your family?
And coming up a little later, racing across the Salt Flats today in the spirit of America. The news is up next.
I want this election to be about the future. Yes, our economy's great, but as we grow, we need to preserve Utah's quality of life. We're already improving Utah's highways statewide, and there's major expansion ahead. But the future is about more than just roads. It's about safe neighborhoods and conserving open spaces while they still exist. This is about the future. It's about moving forward while holding on to what makes Utah a great place.
What do you want to be?
An ice skater.
An ice cream eater?
An ice skater.
Why do you want to be an ice cream eater?
I know. I want to be an ice skater.
Ice skater. Ah, okay. What kind?
Figure skating.
Figure. Now, that's a career.